celebrations today and life in general, so thank y'all for coming. I mentioned earlier, the hope is that this is a retreat, we enjoy each other, but also a little bit more of a work session. We have a lot of things that we need to go through, that just kind of getting done or decide, or discuss. That it's built up over the last couple months and really important to work going next year. So hopefully we can get through as much of it as possible. You should have an agenda in front of you. We'll stick to it pretty as much as we can. Hopefully, again, things go a little bit faster so we have more time for discussion that will come after lunch toward the end. But we take whatever time we need to. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as it is? By Anthony in a second.
Second.
By Dr. Lane. All those in favor, please audibly say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Good. We'll move through that as quickly as we can. Second portion, introduction. So most of us know each other, have been here or from the beginning, not the beginning of time, but beginning of but we do have some new members and we will be adding several new members. So that would be a good idea just to get us acquainted with each other. I'll ask to start on this end. If you'll just tell us who you are, maybe your district, not good. You're always good. You know, there's a place for staff to do that. I'm so sorry.
You just approved the agenda.
Yeah. We'll start with Dr. Lane. You can tell us who you are, what district you represent, or any demographic.
Hi, I'm Ulysses Lane. I'm in District C. I'm supposed to be representing 65 and above, but you know, that's it put me in. I've been here since the start, and I've been involved with community engagement and also chair of Southeast CAC and involved with other community activities. So really enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Carmen Coffin. I am supposed to be representing community gathering, community engagement, something like that. I don't remember. What's
Okay.
Community initiative.
Community initiatives, because I try to drag people into doing stuff for the community. I'm a Raleigh native, used to live in this neighborhood for about 30-some years. And historian operating a book called Historic Black Communities Blog. That's me.
Hi, I'm LaShara Owens and I'm District D, and I'm representing long-term resident. I've been here for almost 30 years since college. I've been to college now in for 30 years.
Good morning, everyone. Jeff Augie, RP Kim. There's a lot of other stuff that follows that I'm kind of deleting. I'm in District E and I was just recently reappointed for another 2-year term, comment button or whatever that means. Joy, yes. It's Saturday and we're being optimistic. And represent renters in various capacities.
Also, vice chair.
Also,
I'm Stacy Ahua. I am living in District A. I initially represented the new Raleigh resident. It's technically that's still the law. I've been here for a while now. And I serve as the chair of the board.
The big cloud and my time given to come to this morning. Tanner, by the way, it's in probably on I am, we're in District D and I am the mayor's representative.
Spring, just joined the board a couple months ago. I live in District A and I am the never served on the board.
And Suzanne Martin, I was appointed on Tuesday, so I'll take the newbie from you. I'm serving in the District E seat, but I am new to serving on the board and I've lived in Raleigh since 2000.
Could you say your name?
Absolutely. Suzanne Martin, SUZANNE.
Thank you.
Too much on the spot. Cheryl, we're just introducing ourselves if you want to see you are.
Okay.
What you're today.
Well, I'm here to let you know that everyone is safe and sound at Chavis Partners. That's where I just came from. Because that's what was in my calendar. But I'm Cheryl Tung and happy to be here now. And I apologize for being late. What are we saying about this? Just who you are.
Where you're presenting.
So I'm representing District A. And I have been on, so the president of the League of Women Voters, but my term is ended this week, so I'm now president of the League of Women Voters, and happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you all for doing that. We also have staff members in the room. None of this works literally without them, so it's important for us to know them and to be able to involve them in this right here.
Dale Neal, Office of Community Engagement, City of Raleigh, and Community Engagement Board Liaison.
Hello, Nadia Moretta. I am the Assistant Community Engagement Manager for the Office of Community Engagement. And I assist with outreach and all. So, those committees. Glad to be here.
Hi, guys. My name is Shakira Vaughn. I'm Community Engagement Strategist at the office as well. Joined the City of Raleigh back in February. So it's still kind of a newbie, but getting my foot in the door. Really happy to be here. I focus a lot on external services or our external engagement efforts. So happy to collaborate with you guys in future studies, of course. Happy.
We just talked about icebreakers. I know you saw it on media, but we're gonna do it. It's a very quick one that Nadia put together for us that I thought was pretty interesting because I'm competitive and I want to win what the prizes are. But I'm also curious to know how all of these apply. So if you want to talk.
Yeah. All right, so the icebreaker shouldn't take too long, but each one of you there are some Post-it notes around, so grab one. Give your neighbor one. And then once you have one, I want you to write something that you have accomplished or that you've done in your lifetime. And then what we're gonna do is fold up the paper, put it in that bucket. I'll come around and pick up the paper. And then I'm gonna read out each one and you all have to guess who actually did it. And then whoever has the most correct guesses. Chocolate bars. So make it interesting, make it fun.
So it should be something that we already know.
Yeah. You can challenge people if you really want to just like, hey, I've done this. I think you guys know, but I wanted to let y'all know that I want y'all to know about it again. Whatever it is that you want to put on this paper. Easy, it's hard. You got yours?
I'm ready. Already.
All right. Just so we can learn a little bit about each other.
So you don't want any name on it or anything?
No names, just the thing. Yep. You can fold it up.
So since we're all using different
Colors.
we'll be able to tell who it was based on what
Oh,
color.
Well, you both have blue.
Or maybe you open it like.
Yeah, I won't show you the color. I'll do
Looking for a way to cheat.
I know, right? I literally thought of that as you said it. I was like, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have everyone close their eyes.
I'm sorry, this is-
Yeah. Okay. Has everyone given me? No. All right. Everybody has given their post-it, yeah? Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna read them like this. All right, the first one is cross a 450-foot long suspension bridge in Vancouver. Who do you think that is?
And first black.
Suzanne. I was looking at you like.
Okay, so you're guessing Suzanne. Don't say who it was yet, but the person who it is, don't say who it is yet. If it was you, don't say it yet until everyone guesses. What's your guess?
I thought it was your eyes. LaShara.
Thank you.
I'm terrible. It's okay.
LaChara,
I'm thinking Dr. Lane.
Dr. Lane.
I gotta pick somebody. I'm gonna double down on Dr. Wyman.
Dr. Lane. Okay, LaChara, Jeff,
Cheryl.
Daryl, okay. Anthony and Dr. Lane,
Sure.
Cheryl, Daryl,
Jeff.
Jeff. Okay, who was it? Okay, okay. All right,
Gets the point if nobody gets it.
I
Nobody
do.
gets the point. That's what I was afraid of. I'm gonna do that.
That's a big system.
Right next to you.
Big system.
Okay. Stacy, you get the point. Keep track of your points. Okay, first person
Let me
in my
help do this.
family to graduate from college. And this person has an MSW, which is social work.
That's right.
First person in my family to graduate from college. Daryl, what's your guess?
So Dr. Lane. Let's go.
Okay, Dr. Lane. Carmen, okay. Carmen, what's?
Oh,
She's trying to point so hard.
Against college.
Okay.
Veronica.
Veronica.
Anthony.
Anthony.
The MSW kind of threw me. You go with Jeff. I think Jeff would be the best social worker.
Okay, yeah, okay. Stacy, what's your guess?
Want to say, Sean.
Okay. You guessed.
Oh, I guess, sorry, I guess Jeff, I jumped, sorry.
Veronica.
I'm guessing Shara.
Okay, and,
Can I change?
No.
okay.
See?
Change.
Who was,
Rigging the election, rigging the.
Suzanne, you, Stacy, did anyone
Not get
guess
that point.
Suzanne?
Suzanne gets that.
No.
No one guessed.
Veronica's close to her, so does that count? Okay. What's the plus or minus?
I was gonna ask, are you actively practicing or in recovery?
I am not direct practice, I'm micro.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Trying to open these so you all can see what it is. Okay, took 9 years to graduate from college.
You did it.
All right, Suzanne, what's your guess?
So Cheryl.
Cheryl, okay. Veronica. Carmen. Carmen.
Yeah, jump on this one, too.
I think Dr. Lane.
Okay.
We're just gonna go Anthony on this one.
9 years
Graduate
to
college.
graduate from college, is college.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Dr.
Pardon?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with.
Dr. Lane. Dr. Lane. Okay.
With Anthony.
Okay,
I'm gonna say Veronica.
Rhonda. All right, everyone's guessed, right? All right, who is it? Did Anthony guess?
Oh, she said,
Oh, Veronica?
you do so much. I was like, you seem like the type that would like have to space it out.
Not my profession, maybe. Because I kept going back through the legislature.
All right, here we go, next one. I have ran a half marathon, in 3 Disney parks. Oh, have run half marathons, it's probably more than once, in 3 Disney parks. He's a runner.
Disney.
Okay, we'll start with Cheryl, what's your guess?
I'll say LaSharo.
Cheryl? Dr. Lee.
She didn't laugh too hard, y'all. Calm it down.
Suzanne, okay. Carmen? From me? I still want to say Anthony. Why do I want to say Anthony? I think you've done it all. Reported Anthony.
I'm torn between Anthony and.
Anthony, okay.
Veronica.
Veronica.
Okay. Zero.
Who was it?
You got the shoes on. You look like
A bunch of liars.
I appreciate that you thought
Make sure
I
you keep
did.
track of how many. Who else
I just
said
have the one.
Anthony besides me?
Okay.
We've got competition for the travel parks.
Well, there's not more than 3.
Other break.
All right. Lived in 7 states.
Wow.
And just know, like, once these are already done, right? So like, don't guess these things.
Oh,
Like,
Multiple tracking.
I'm just giving y'all.
Hey.
Hold on, something.
No.
So focus on the points.
Yeah.
No,
It's literally 4 options. Okay, 4 left in here. Who has lived in 7 states? Sorry,
I'm gonna say Jeff.
Jeff. Okay. Dr. Lane.
Can we get Stacy get included?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah, she did.
Y'all want to come play games at my house? It's up the road.
I don't know. Awesome. We got check off multiple times. And, oh,
Okay.
sorry, military, right?
I can make it. I was back in it involved.
All right, Carmen.
Pass.
Well,
You
No.
don't want to get.
To wait.
I just said, I didn't want to,
She
I don't want to
wants
keep
to-
stacking.
No other guess.
I'm gonna go back and check my.
No.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to say. Yeah. Okay,
We don't get it.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Stop.
Okay, Marceline.
Farrell.
Farrell.
Well, nothing, right?
Joe. Who is it? Oh.
okay, so,
Four.
Yeah.
I'm in the mix, I'm in the mix.
and Anthony,
All right,
Just working for the government. I lived, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, California, Hawaii, Florida, and Long Island. We don't know anything about it.
all right. I am a first generation high school graduate, college graduate, and master's degree.
I'm going Cheryl.
Cheryl. Okay. Monica. Okay. Tiffany. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
The shop.
Yeah. Okay. Ben. Ben. Okay.
What was that? Read your question again.
I am a first generation high school graduate, college graduate.
Share.
Y'all want me.
Yeah.
That definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sarah.
I say Jeff.
Was it?
Uh,
Did anyone guess Veronica?
No.
We have 3 left. I got to attend a Supreme Court hearing involving North Carolina. Okay, Cheryl, what's your guess?
Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with it.
You're right, I'm.
Yeah. And Jeff, I gotta get it.
Yeah. Carmen? Yeah, okay.
I think it's Cheryl.
Okay, Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Okay, who was it? Yeah.
Okay. So, right.
I thought it was Cheryl.
Yeah.
Was it in
Yeah,
for the
we
top?
can rest it somewhere. Let's track how many.
Everybody was waiting to see what my answer
How
was.
All right.
2 more left.
I ran a mile in 5 minutes and 36
Wow.
seconds.
Damn. You're gonna get really.
Brings it down.
That's far off my base.
All right, Cheryl, yes.
It's gotta be Jeff.
Dr. Lily.
I gotta get one, Jeff.
Carmen. Oh, 2 answers. Okay, we got it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Shara.
It's a 50.
LaShabra.
Thank you.
Got a 50-50 chance.
You say Jeff?
Jeff.
Jeff? Jeff? Who was it?
That was me.
Yeah.
High school cross country, desperation to fit in and metabolism. Yeah, that was the first mile. The second mile was trash. The first mile was.
That's good though.
It was,
It was.
Okay, last one.
Hold on.
all you need for it.
There's only one left.
How many,
How many did you have?
yeah, how many people were?
Everybody.
Oh, because I wasn't thinking.
And I got it right here. Games the games.
All right. Ugh, it's kind of hard to open. All right, celebrated my 26th year in global trade compliance.
Everyone can say it on.
One.
Let's try.
Yeah.
We all get that.
All right.
I would.
Suzanne, how many did you get? One. Veronica? Two.
Oh, it's true.
You want to?
Carmen's got her tablet.
Well, Carmen's trying.
That's all right. How many did you get, Sue? You didn't try?
Maybe two.
Two, okay.
Yeah.
Two. One. Carmen, how many did you get?
I got one.
Okay. One. Oh, wow. Okay, so who got two? Veronica and Jeff.
But there's 3 bars.
Yeah, but I think y'all.
I think it's a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
I think it was Jeff and Stacy. And, you know, they're on the wall, they're on.
Okay, you three. Okay. Who wants what? I mean, I'll pick first and you'll run. I can go. You like
Can't start the model.
Like them would be from back. Chocolate?
He doesn't need too much of this shit.
Right.
Save it for
That wasn't so bad. Good to know some things. I'm also just offended that everybody thinks I'm a scaredy cat, because I would walk across the bed.
I just really thought it was super.
Yeah, I just like, if you would do it, I'd be like, oh, or like, wouldn't even think that you.
No, I was terrified.
No.
Thank you for that, Nadia. That was actually beautiful to see. Last thing on kind of our opening, item is the approval of minutes. Unfortunately, our secretary is not here. And we have several minutes from the past couple of months to approve, but since he's not here and we don't have them, they have them ahead of time set out. We're gonna push again. We'll just make July the official first 15 minutes, just approving minutes, because it's very important. Because we have record of the last 11 months meetings, so we're gonna push on. I don't see anyone in comments. It's fine, so we're gonna move past that as well. Next is just an overall review. So again, some of this we already know, some of it's just a nice refresher, some of it is new for people who are just joining. But a review of our mission, and that's our mission and our mission statement. So we do kind of have two different ones, or I wouldn't say two different ones, separate ones. The official on like the community engagement board site, our mission is stated as the community engagement board will help develop, evaluate, and implement the city of Raleigh's community engagement efforts. Very general. But we also created our own mission statement, which after our bylaws. Very much crafted this to be what we hoped our scope of work would be, but also as guiding light for kind of the work beyond what we do just in this room, hopefully, what this board continues to do. The mission statement that we developed was to nurture a citywide approach to community engagement that promotes radical inclusion through trust, transparency, and mutual respect. So again, if you haven't seen that before, it's actually a that's in our bylaws that everyone should have. It's on the website. Afterwards as well, that you can take home today. But I just want to revisit that because one, it makes me like we have gotten somewhat off track in just the minutia of trying to get this done and accomplished. Overall, we did have this mission because everyone in the room, one applied or was appointed and joined this board because we were passionate about affecting change and being catalysts for that over not just ourselves, but for our community. So I think it's a good thing to just point back to that as much as you can. And then to sort of talk a little bit about what our procedures for this board are. So again, can be redundant, but it's good refresher, good point is back where we go. So we have our mission statement, we have our bylaws, we have 3 committees that are set up for this board. So that is the outstanding committees, I should say, outreach committee, policy committee, and equity committee. And we'll go over what those specific committee focuses are kind of after lunch. But the main focus that we have taken in the past 2 years, 2 years, has been to work as a board in general. So we meet once a month to discuss whether it's issues that come to us from the city council that are pertinent issues that pertain to citizens at large or that are specific engagement issues, to take those, advise on those, research whatever we can to assist in either recommendations or policy change on the effort, or and for us to sort of engage the community ourselves to discover what are some prominent issues, concerns, needs, gaps in communication or relationship building that we can, again, sort of examine and help facilitate a better way to do those things, or to create something new that helps engage people further, or to address things that are being missed in the community that no one else is addressing. So all of that is kind of the scope of what we do in these meetings. Our standing committees are meant to sort of drill down into that work. So we talk about some larger issues in our general meetings. Those can be broken down basically based on their level of specificity. So if it is an outreach issue, like how are we reaching people? How do we get out to the public? How are they reaching us? That can go to the outreach committee. If it's a specific policy, whether that comes from city council or something that pertains to community engagement that doesn't exist and needs to, or something that doesn't exist and change, that will, for the policy committee, it's an issue of equity on any level that we can address, and can be something that cycles through how we change policy and how we get that change out to people with outreach that is housed in the equity. So we kind of use these general meetings to figure out what our problems are, drill down with them in our committees. And then we also, this was a big part of our work plan and our bylaws that I honestly had kind of forgotten about, but that can drill down even further into what we call task action, not task force. Thank you. We're very intentional about that as well. Action teams. So action teams can be developed by any committee chair, and they are meant to be like smaller, or I guess any size work groups that can take an issue that sits in that committee and say, we need input from members of the community, maybe from experts. Maybe you just need a little extra time and manpower, but this is a specific issue that we can't solve in this committee ourselves. And we need extra resources to help us get to the bottom of it, offer whatever solutions or recommendations we can. But it needs a greater breadth of wealth of knowledge to be able to do that. And those are things those were things that we fought for specifically because we are only 15, 16 people in the room who are volunteering time, and volunteer more time to be on these committees, and volunteer more time to really get on this issue. So that's kind of the general scope of how things are supposed to go around here. Have we gotten down to all of those things? Maybe not, but we have all the resources in place. And again, the hope is to be able to not just get directives on what we can do, but to be active about what issues we see or and then suggesting and eventually implementing systems, activities, programs, technology to do all those things. That makes sense in a general Am I missing anything?
No, I think the way you approach it is good. I hope, because we in a lot of administrative developmental phase, so we're going through phases. Now it's after 2 years, I would hope, like you suggested, we were kind of react because they were getting things for us to do, finding things. Now we get more proactive into what our bylaw says, where we actually are reviewing some of these policies that are out there, or activities, and give recommendations to the city council. And I don't think we've done a lot. I don't know if we've done any, but we did a couple of recommendations, which were pretty successful, but more of what we find other than what they give us. You know, and I think as the committee, you have to think that we're able to do that. You know, whether they give it to us or not, if we identify. So what you're saying, I hope that we move more toward that proactive stuff, but being volunteer, you do what you can.
One question, you mentioned that the mission statement on the city's website and our mission statement are stated differently.
Just that they have like, it's more, it says description, but this is in very general what the board is supposed to be, and we want that. There's this description. Yes.
Is there any reason why we're not putting our mission statement that we created on the city's website, or is it like to be on the city's website?
There's no, I don't know, there's no specific reason, because I understand it.
Yeah, we're gonna be updated
Yeah,
if y'all like us to.
I mean, I think that may be helpful, because I think when it has written on the city's website, I think it lets our group. Some folks interpret that differently than I think we have interpreted it. And I think our interpretation may be helpful to some of those that see their own interpretation.
Right.
And that we should be doing things that we are not doing.
And I want to emphasize, when we started with that mission statement, we really wanted to drive that forward to the be visible. So we haven't done, we have recommended or asked for some kind of a banner or something, so that mission statement is in front of us all the time. And it's in front of the people that come in. So we haven't gotten to that point, because this was a very ambitious thing for us, based on the environment that the community engagement was feeling it. And when we talking about the way the word radical when I talk to them, they kind of radical, and we really meant that. So we still haven't done enough to project that mission statement in ourselves. So I think also as we move forward this year, we need to do those things. They be out front. So
I think adding it to that page is hard.
yeah.
If you can read what is up there in that, and you saw the vote in February from City Council, the question of CACs will, and why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we working on that? And I think that is something that our mission statement actually helps with for us in a way that helps written it out.
I tried to save as many trees as possible, but these are sort of smaller if you want to take one. These are just it's a general, as much as I can remember, and really point out that was important work that we've done this year, in some of the accomplishments. And I left out some of the, that this group, and this person can speak for us, because I didn't speak that anyway, but try to point toward things that we actually voted on, that were things that required us to discuss, have consensus, and then put it into the record. So just really quickly, I do think it's important that we elect a new officer, as the board, establishing our standing committee. So this was, our retreat last year was the first time that we had committees in place and were actively started working and had chairs in place. Everyone completed board training, which happened in our second year of this board, which is also interesting, toward our procedures. Veronica and Suzanne, you'll have the opportunity to work with Sue Ellen to get you the virtual board training. But since you haven't served on a board before, I think it'd be a good idea in general, and then something a little bit to do that, schedule for that later on. But everyone, we have the full board complete that training. We established, the equity committee established a map for us, or different locations for us to move throughout the city for our regular meetings. So initially, we were just moving one location in downtown Raleigh, and it was kind of designed with the board to be able, our community engagement board, to engage the community by not only seeing places that we haven't been before, for example, like our Catholic first all time, they're inside. But to be able to let people know that we are also visiting to them. So we chose different locations for every month and met at a community center in one of each of the 5 districts, and continue to rotate that. So, we had a great response from people, just being appreciative that we were willing to come to them and not to take them for to come to us sometimes. So it's great. We set up a public comment voicemail for meetings. So we have obviously public comment hearing for all of our meetings, but people can also call into the voicemails when public comment specifically for us, which I think was a new thing all around, but also a great idea. We have virtual access to our regular meetings. That device that looks as creepy as an actual owl helps to record and live stream all of our meetings so people can go and for all of the meetings we have set up, register to view it online, and they are recorded. And some of them, I don't think all of them have been uploaded to our YouTube channel, but they are recorded in so where they cannot. There's a dialogue between that we can answer, but they are limited if some people are not that way, we can call it or consider it. We created the public comment tracker. So the policy committee created the system. You have viewed the public comment portions of the council meetings. There are strict guidelines and due time limits, we can say, but there's also no level of reciprocity for those comments. So we thought it was important, again, as the board that represents the community, to come up with a way to respond to the public, to important public comments and inquiries that came to us. So the policy committee developed this public comment tracker where anyone who comes into our meetings still is not able to participate during the meeting, but those comments are recorded with a lot of different detail. The policy committee reviews all of those and then has recommendations on who and what to do with those comments. So maybe some of them are just, say thank you for coming because we need to say something nice. Or if I have this issue, I don't know who to go to, but it's a community-based issue and I want your help with it. You can recommend some action from the board or some action from the part of the city, whatever case, but we have a system that does address those comments. How that develops from here, we're not sure, but we have what we have in place and we've got something that would work for us to be well. Establishing the public comment procedure, including communication templates. Oh, same thing. So we had decided that we were going to respond to public comment in some way. And then those templates that were established again are one to just to say thank you for coming if they do that, and then any level of escalation, whether it's the board in a decision or another department in the city. We created a community engagement board email address, which helps us communicate all of those things to other people. We didn't have a direct way for people to contact us. So the original email would go through a city email address and then have to be routed through the staff member who manage that. So now we have a direct Raleigh CED@gmail.com. Go back check me out. For anyone who has any question to be able to just, so if they have something to say at this meeting or whatever the case, they can get a direct line and don't have to, it's a filter. Creation of social media accounts, we voted on that in May. So that's a community engagement board, Instagram and Facebook. We also voted to include Loomly, which will help us manage all of those communications. Basically just sharing information about. We have guidelines on that, how to share that information, but again, other ways to be present and to communicate. We created an information sharing policy, so that includes social media, who's going to have access, how they have access, when the access changes. It also applies to email. So as we have executive turnover or whatever the case may be, we have a system in place that says this is how we can say who has access to what, just to be safe, and what staff is able to have to be a backup for the rest of the world. We purchased an A-frame that's very big. I don't know if it's here. We have to get a picture of the A-frame to prove that it exists. having signage, again, visibility, not feeling like we're hiding and that we don't want people to find us because we do at some point. Oh, it's been too much time on this, but we did create a public comment video. That was an explanation right there. How people can leave public comment with the city, guidelines on how to prepare for that. It was a really excellently done video and project that they never see the light of day, but it was really great. The outreach committee did a fantastic job working to create that. We did kind of establish and take some steps toward a partnership with TOTA, working on the public project community support fund. I got it for the first time.
You got it.
Helps distribute specific funds, for different initiatives that are kind of placed throughout the city. And that's something that the equity committee is really leading. And that work is still in progress, but that was something that we kind of were made aware of the last retreat, but the equity committee has since started to actually work on what that process looks like because we are a central portion of that. And then the last thing is creating the social media rules of engagement. Again, just safeguard. So who can post what we're posting, who approves it, all of this. So I may have missed something and I don't want to leave anything out. If you think of anything else that's been like a major accomplishment, creating something voted on, this will be sort of reformatted to include in our presentation to city council at our last year. That will be November 19th or so.
November 19th.
But if there's anything you think of along the way that we need to include, let me know, because I want to make sure that it's well documented that we're doing work. Yes.
Will we discuss that? You said let you know, but will we be able to discuss this so that we all have an input? So we're gonna do that at the retreat today?
No, we won't do that today. I won't do the presentation to city council until November, so we have plenty of time. But I wanted to at least go over what I can remember right now that we've done. So if there's anything else you think of, we can always add it. It's not costing this time. Okay, I have said it. I don't know when, like, what the process is and when it would be a good timing, but I have just a couple questions. And it's really just about access so that I can view it, but, so public comment voicemail, who has access to this? I'm just curious about kind of the process of how that information gets gathered. Is that staff? Is that us? How does that get incorporated into agendas? For the CEB address, you had mentioned CEB, something that, but then I looked back and printed off what's on the website and it says community.engagement@Raleigh and C.gov. Is there two emails? I'm not sure then. So that, the social media accounts, what accounts exist, I don't know what Loonly is, who manages and makes posts, are the members able to do that? Do we have policies on that? But then I saw that at the bottom that there's social media rules of engagement. I'm curious how that coincides with the city of Raleigh's accounts. I know they've been really intensive. Then the public comment video, you talked about, it's not seeing the light of day, but that is something that I was curious about. I think it's a really critical component to have community engagement and having the citizens understand the process of submitting comments and how to make the most of those 3 minutes. And then that will need to process. So yes, I'll move real quickly. So the voicemail, the number, and I'll think it's available on our page. That's not something that the board manages, that's something that is staff led, so that is something that staff has access to. And if we have voicemails, they can be, I think they can be printed or they read off. I don't remember which one they are. Are they read aloud?
They can be read aloud.
Can be read
If we
aloud
give them the- they can be read
during meetings, so it'd be the same as the public comment process. There's a specific line for community engagement board, so, I'll check the number in front of you, but
Are any of the voicemails in the city getting calls?
Not really.
I said,
I've not heard of anyone calling.
yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's called ours. I just didn't know
Yeah.
if the others that existed.
I don't think anyone's called any of them.
Yeah,
It is an option, and I don't know. I don't see it listed on specifically on our page, but maybe that's something you can add as well.
Yeah.
If it's already on there, then. Um. Yeah, this one. There's a specific exception for it.
the big fun. You listen to this.
That would be fun too. to say.
I just think it would be.
I have to say. Tell us some.
Somebody say to me.
So that's how they access it, is through that phone number, and like I said, we have specific incentive, and then staff will let us know if there's something that's it, and we're allowed during the public process, and then it goes through that same tracker, since it's something that we can address. Because if it's not, see how they're contacted, we can certainly follow up, if that's appropriate. The email, so there is the current community engagement email, but if you scroll down, there's also the email community engagement board link. And I want to say, I'm going to double check it right now, that links to our, is it email address?
It goes to ours.
It doesn't, it goes to
So
ours.
community.engagement@raleigh.gov is our office's email address. I believe based off what I'm seeing, we don't have y'all's email address on.
I thought we wanted to change that in. December? No. Was it December? To update that, so that, is that a, can we ask IT? That would be great to update that.
Maybe specifying which is,
The ideal would be to remove the city name, just have hours of 6, so they don't have any both for them.
the football places you're trying to pay for
that. That's right.
them.
Yeah, and so there's not a one or the other, there's just one option. I think the other thing that we removed, there's something else that needs to be that was specific to that address. But that would be great to see. That's something more software today. As far as access to that, that's something that the staff has a backup to, so if something happens and so Jeff, so they can access it to the Raleigh.com. They have whatever access to do, but it's usually just for the executive chair, vice chair, secretary. That also is a place where we're able to house kind of board documents. So there is actually board docs that the entire city uses for minutes, recordings, all of the official documentation. We also have things that are not necessarily pertinent to that we can keep for our board. For example, the information sharing policy is something that lives in our board, it's specific to us. So it's not something that's kept board docs, but anything that we need for the continuity, consider that, just like our Google Drive. Social media, those, like I said, were just voted on in May. The accounts have not been created, and Tom is not here today, but I'm just gonna create those for us so that we have them for our access to do things like meetings. Literally is again a management tool, so it's something that can help us push out information to multiple places at once instead of having one basement, one to LinkedIn, one to whatever.
Like a week,
Yeah, same.
It's right to the floor.
Pretty much, yeah. And we just got approval to make that purchase. We voted on it with some pending information for the months ago, and then just got the approval to actually make that purchase too. So the accounts, I think we voted that the accounts can be created with the caveat that nothing will be posted until we have the purchase done and until we have it, so we need to engage the policy done. Pretty sure that is voted. our accounts differ from the city of Raleigh in that what we post on our social media, like Raleigh speaking, our TV, do include the disclaimer that they are not representation of the city. So these were created with the understanding that they were independent accounts that do not reflect, cannot visually reflect anything that represents the city. So it is, although we are city board, it is not official city communication. We can make some requests of city communication office to share things on their official social media. They don't have to. That's big enough that really affects the entire city in some way. But that was also why it was important for us to have an HQ. Social media is a big part of communicating with anybody at this point, even if they're not super tech savvy. So we wanted to have a way to do that, even if it's just sharing with our reviews. That's another to be able to say is find us in that way. So they do have that disclaimer, or email address has that disclaimer. Any information comes from that having disclaimer that not represent the city in what we said. It that way. And the public comment video, short version of this, and anybody jump in at any time if you have.
Question real quick.
Yeah.
And as we venture out into the world of social media, then this is something that, I keep hearing. Does this board have any sort of liability insurance? Because we're separate from the city and we're doing things outside of the umbrella of the city. Is there anything that would prevent somebody from going, that's overwhelmingly defensive, I'm going to sue the board? Is there board insurance or is there something in place that would prevent us from?
I can check on that. I have not heard anything
If
like
we
that.
just ask on that, because we're probably a month or two out from our first social media post.
Right.
Yeah.
But it would be nice just to know if, and that may be something for legal, just to ask, if we post something, where does the liability fall? Does it fall on the individual who posted? Does it fall on the board? Does it fall on the city of Raleigh? Not that I think, given our rules, that anybody would post anything, but it's better to know than to find out.
I'll ask about that.
Thank you.
That's a good point. I mean, because we want to have freedom to work outside the city and at the same time, don't want to get caught up in some of this other stuff that's going on. And but again, it's kind of limiting one way and freedom to others.
Yeah, I mean, part of me almost thinks avoiding social media until after November is a good idea.
It's gonna get better.
In fact, maybe second week of November, we could kind of start.
I think our review system that we set up though is a pretty good one.
I
If we use it, so
100% agree.
I feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, no, I feel comfortable with that. I feel comfortable with the rules of engagement, but I also know just from a recent post that we had from the office that is getting a ton of heat in a way that we're kind of going, okay. I don't think there's gonna be any legal pursuit in that, but I do think it's something that you have to sit there and go, okay, when we post, what's the reaction gonna be? And, we've had folks say, why are you posting this? And I'm like, can't be posting. But anyway, that came to mind that maybe there's something that we need to think about from a liability standpoint.
I think you mentioned rules of engagement. That's exactly what we're talking about, which is basically guidelines for what we can post, how we post that, and those are all things that we can. Email Tom, I think, is still compiling the final because we had 3 recommended versions of that came from different parts of the board. But we did vote on sort of a compilation of those things and having things that we're still working on. Tom is board member, he's also the chair of the outreach. And then he also has a spreadsheet that will outline what requests for posts come in. So for example, if the equity committee is having their committee meeting and they want it to be shared on social media pages, that they would submit their request for whatever the information, whatever graphic it is to Tom or that list, I should say, whoever manages that would be the chair of the RTD and chair of the board. It has to be approved by those individuals and then approved, scanned and posted as. So there's kind of a system set up, safeguards for what can be posted, who approves it, and then general rules of how to act. When we are speaking, but also. So that's a rules of engagement for social media, public comment video, short stories. We were asked a year and a half ago, it was a little over a year ago, by city council to review the process for public comments made at city council meetings. We did a lot of work on that, including looking at what other cities do, looking at the current policies to solve those issues. Made recommendations on how to make that a, what I should say, more equitable, comfortable process. And then out of that, we got work to develop a script and film a video with the city, also communication with the city about how to make a public comment, how to make it successfully, which is really important. Again, it's like how you fit all of your thoughts that you've had for 15 years in 3 minutes, how to make yourself comfortable and heard, how to have a respectful interaction, all of those things, really well in video. And then unfortunately, at the tail end of that, there were some amendments made legally during city council meetings that continue to limit the amount of time that people have to speak. So countering this very well done video that says you got 3 minutes, here's how to use it best, with you may have 3 minutes, you may have 30 seconds for 1 minute. At that time is not a viable option or the best option. And because we don't have control over how that time is amended, needed to be from moment to moment, it was recommended to sort of keep that for now. It became a bigger issue because it's continued to be an issue, which is why we were asked to make recommendations about what to do about it. And so we have the video, if you have time at the end of this, we can watch it and you can see, how well that was. There is a lot of work on the front end for the issue that we were not able to release public because the foundation of that changed. And it, again, can change at any time. It could be 3 minutes now, but it was kind of a conflict of messaging. So that. I think that's a good way to say it.
I think you, yes,
Yeah,
you did that.
I'm not sure we finished it all. My thinking is on this. Because 3 minutes was a barrier. The purpose of making it is to show people how to speak and prepare. Whether they have a minute or 3 minutes, that video is still valuable. So I think we still need to move forward and maybe revise the 3 minutes off, because we had no control over that, as we found out.
Right.
Because they either cut it down, but the point of someone in the public being able to prepare themselves, that is the valuable part of that, we should stick with that part. That's the only thing that helps.
In the script, I agree, and I think what we need to do is focus more on the preparation.
Yes.
And less on the execution, and I think the video we did struck a really good balance between the preparation and execution. And it may be worth saying, instead of saying you have 3 minutes, saying we will have up to 3 minutes, but it could be less depending on the volume of speakers and, just let it roll from there. But I agree. I mean, I think having something, I think there was a lot of effort that had to go into all the moving parts to make this happen. And then once we got it, it seemed like it was, sort of cut down this as soon as it, it's like ready for release and boom. So, I mean, I think there's things we can do and should do, but it is, I would want to crack at this script from getting it out just to make sure that.
Yeah, but it's valuable for the purpose of educating the public to be able to speak. And period. Rather than worrying about this barrier, we can't control how much time. All we can do is help you prepare. And that's what I think that was what the public wanted from us. The help that we talked about. So that's my.
Well, I still, if you watch these meetings, I do think that message is missing because a lot of the folks that are coming and, part of the problem was a lot of folks are coming and asking the city council to do things the city council can do that have no impact. I mean, and regardless of how you feel about what the recent, onslaught of speakers have been talking about. I think it would be helpful and help them, to see something that said, look, there's some things just you're not going to make progress on. And there's some things that, may need a different venue. So yeah, I think there's a lot we can put into it and still get it in 3 minutes and get it better.
Maybe that expanded to make outreach, decide what you want to do with it, to work your trips in your projects.
We can get sidetracked on the social media.
I was trying to use my eyes.
The blind side.
Well, one of the things I think, at least in my time on the board, in ways that we work is like in hearing that, perhaps thinking about the social media piece, maybe the video, if we put some intention on it to get that, really assess the resources, maybe that's our first entry into the social media space, is to share that resource and highlight how people can begin to actively and constructively engage. Because I think to me, that's a big issue, particularly as we've heard public comment in these spaces. There are times where it's not entirely clear what the action is, what the ask is that exists in that space. So I absolutely agree that there's preparation that could be emphasized regardless of what the actual time limit is.
So if I'm going to do this for Facebook or Instagram, I would break it out into multiple parts and do, tip 1, do this, tip 2, do this. And in shorter segments, because nobody watches 2-minute video anymore. If you can get it set in 15 to 20 seconds on TikTok, you have.
I do have the video. If you guys want to watch it right now, or you want to get to the end. Watch it for lunch.
I actually, thank you. It's consumed more time than I anticipated, but I appreciate the intention. Everything is here. It's like. And I'm just like, you see, the rest of us are like, oh, that's kind of our.
That's a way that we take care of diversity. I will throw that out there as like a thing, because we're all different people. We all come from different places and have different, I struggled because I was new to Raleigh at that point in time in terms of some of the history that we sort of encountered coming into this. So I just want to affirm that in that space.
And it's good for blind spotting and bringing those conversations back up. Like, we ask IT to do something, it doesn't get done and we don't know about it. Well, if we were to speak that, or if we haven't revisited the conversation of that video, maybe there wouldn't be a desire, or that's not desire to do that because we need to something else.
I think that's everything on the accomplishment side. I wanted to take a photo. I know some people may have to leave early, but I wanted to take a photo with everyone who's here for lunch. And my eyes can't be accurate. So I figured with
You guys can stand over here in front of the,
and maybe so we should go to the A-frame, the pine tree.
oh, the apron's fine.
Yeah, and I agree that the image that we want to project with this out around the A-frame, and even if you can get the sign, but the community center in, it's let people know that,
Yes, I think.
We'll go out and do that. We do have one other piece of business to take care of before, it would be awesome if we could do that afterward. Okay, we'll take the photo. The lunch is here.
Should be here.
Okay.
They'll talk for us.
We'll play it by ear, but we'll take the photo first and then we can get to our elections and that. And I'm trying to roll it down to like the regions. Okay, to the
I love that. That's like action.
how we rallied around this one of these.
We'll see.
Oh, I didn't even think you were showing up today.
This handle that I
have. I don't wanna hear about it. We don't wanna hear about how you. But we used to do that. You never met us. So. Yeah, this young, they get. Yeah. Is he ready to do it? It should be. Yes, but.
My calendar, I had a location and like zooming up parts and, but you know, having computer pop up, so I just hit it and off I went. I'm like, no, oh, look how organized I was.
I was really thinking ahead. But I do think we received Jake.
Okay, because well, that might be explain it because we put it on the calendar several months ago.
Right, yeah.
Well,
I think,
and then
I'm glad
I
to be
didn't look
here.
at the, I know, this is, I'm happy to be here too. I just.
Very glad you're here. Which actually may not be.
Oh, I have well, no, it's right here, that's why. That's that, so I was like, he's physically. Well, my kids, you know, it's one of those things where. We say.
No, it's not.
So I'm trying just to. See, that's one decision. You just. Oh, huh?
It's given like, she's.
Yes.
It's given royalty.
Go ahead.
No. Given to that.
Do you like the
You know, I'm surprised that you was
Wait a minute, I'm still waiting on that bottle. Everybody looked at reminded me, wait a minute. I want that one.
It actually just was like. Sure. There's the other. I did not reach out. He doesn't like it, he won't blame her. That's true. That is important.
Oh, I really wrong.
I know you can't.
It's not like that. Oh, God.
Especially like, well.
Okay, let's take care of one thing before.
I didn't.
Or you running.
Having.
Are you running?
About that, but. It is.
Let's get one other item done while we're finishing the setup for lunch.
Make it better. Better didn't understand that word. Right. They never started. This is.
Yeah, I gotta remember who did that right there.
Anyway. At least.
Not there before. So before we break for lunch, the last item on the agenda is our officer elections. So again, we have 3 elected positions for the board as chair, vice chair, and secretary. I did inquire ahead of time about anyone interested in any of those positions. There are 3 of them and 2 interested parties. So how we handle which position is vacant, we'll take care of here in a second. I think we can start. So I want to say at our last retreat, we established that elected positions will be able to transition, not in the middle of this meeting, but at the start of the next meeting. So if you are elected to a position, don't feel like you have to jump into today, that will take effect. It happens.
Personally, I have that expectation.
That's if you want to. You are welcome.
I would like to third that.
Yes, but that will take effect at our July meeting, that you can kind of, we can go through that transitionary period. We'll start kind of at the bottom of our ballot, which again, an important position because it does hold all of our information. It is, you know, tertiary in that list that we made it, so that's your fault for not having it. Is the secretary position, so again, I did ask, any interest, but it is one that I know that we have, an opening for, so is there anyone interested in holding secretary?
I can't do it again because this is my last year.
Yes, our current.
I was gonna say, yes.
Our current secretary will not be serving as secretary or on the board after this meeting, so it is something that we want to make it, and I don't know if we put in our bylaws contingencies or vacancies in the secretary position. But if not, that is something that Jeff and I can manage, so we do have, I volunteer Jeff and I to. So we'll just have that, it's made, yeah, let's be honest, until we have, someone that's comfortable enough or willing to step into that role. No pressure, but I did want to ask while we were all together. So, do they have to use through that? No. Jeff is just a show off.
True.
No. Yeah, they don't. And it is, again, it's important, you know, kind of whatever record keeping we need for our, like what we discussed, but also for things like the retreat, reviewing attendance and things that we have accomplished. And we did have things that were brought to us showing that we had a discussion about what we decided. So it is very valuable, very important to our thoughts. And again, if we don't have any willing, then we will work on so that we don't miss a beat, but also really hope to have someone with that position that can work with you for that.
So the positions will stay open until filled.
Again, I don't, as far as when we looked at in the bylaws, we don't have a contingency for what happens if it's not filled. That was,
And then we also have the recording with Al.
that's correct.
So that assists with the secretary. Yeah, that's,
It does.
So-
Does that need to go through policy?
In case of the absence of any elected or appointed office of the board, or for any other reason deemed sufficient, the board may delegate the powers of such officer to any member of the board. So we have the ability to delegate that to myself or Jeff. Or anyone, yeah, else. You can volunteer that, which I will not do. I want you to stay on the board.
I think another way, again, this, I'm real caught up on the radical inclusion piece, like a way that we could do it, it's disruptive, in the sense of smoothness and everything, is if there are interested parties, perhaps rather than committing to a whole term, that we do set up a schedule of people that are interested in doing it, and an individual might do one meeting. You work with the board, it's not necessarily a sole task, an only task. And so people can try it out to see if it's a fit for them. I will say from my personal experience, like the reason why I do this, because I do this in my job every day, and that's why I don't step up in this space, because I'd rather not just continue my job and then I come into my own volunteer spaces. So that's why I don't do it. But I have been doing the equity subcommittee meeting minutes, and so there's value in the activity itself as a reflective tool in the moment. And reflexive, I guess, to be fair.
And again, this is something that can be open after the date, so if it does need to be recorded someday, or someone says, yes, I am interested, we can make that official note or appointment after today, but from some over in the room, I'll be there, and just give the option.
But I'm not in, I'm trying to share my notes.
That is also very helpful, saying that, and that is, you have a very technical skill.
I was like, I'm about to take it.
That's very helpful.
I'm not interested, but I'm really.
Okay. We'll accept that. Is that an official self-nomination for that position?
No.
Okay.
Talk to me and I can do a practice in July.
Let's say
And we
we
can
can
talk in August.
we will,
If nobody else wants it.
we will manage that as you want. For the meantime, put together with Carmen and with all of you. The office of vice chair, so Jeff is currently our vice chair, has served for the past year. Jeff, are you interested in going to serve?
I partially, a lot of it, I think, has to do with the fact that there are pieces of the lecture that we articulated this year that haven't been implemented. So I would rather get those kind of up off the ground structurally so that we understand what we need to do before transitioning. So, but yes, I am. And
We'll take a look. Anyone else interested in willing to serve as vice chair? Make a motion. Please.
I'm leaving, I'm definitely nominated and, what is that?
There are seconds, sort of, by Anthony. Any discussion?
I think that's done a good job, and I'm happy to get rolling.
All those in favor of, can you restate your motion from, sorry?
I nominated Jeff, we nominated and that within the
All of those in favor, please, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Congratulations, Jeff. Thank you.
you're stuck with it.
we knew that.
We're happy. Last position is chair, so I'm serving this position for the past year and vice chair prior to that. I'm both willing, and interested in continuing in the position, but also want to open the floor to anyone else who is interested in doing to serve as well. You know, look ways that y'all just gave.
Sometimes when you stay too long with eyes, they think
Yeah.
that you got
I think we're all looking at Carmen to see if another motion.
Yes. So I move that that Stacy be nominated and elected by acclamation.
Yeah. So,
Any discussion?
again, thank you for the full board for all your hard work and everything you've done, and we appreciate you.
Have to vote for it.
That's for your chair.
My vote applause though. Those in favor, please, I will lose it. Any opposition? Thank you guys so much. I really, the same as Jeff said, there's a lot that we've just kind of gotten to the tip of on the cusp of, and I think where we've been trying to get to for sort of 2 years to this point of action and building things and really getting things where we want them to be able to move a little bit more efficiently. So I'm very excited, genuinely excited to be able to be pushing this forward if we go out to push this. And
We just did that.
We just.
so we're moving to 3 meetings a month.
You know,
Okay, we will move forward with our agenda. We do have lunch available from Mo's. Thank you to Dale and Nadia for getting all that arranged for us. If you did express any dietary restrictions and preferences, we tried to adhere to those as well. Everything should be pretty well labeled, but it's over. Sorry. I did not add liver, so, you're welcome. It's kind of a taco bar or burrito bar, make whatever you want set up. There should also be tea, there's some beverages and cooler, then cookies and still some donuts. So we'll take some time.
Stacy.
Yeah,
1 second. Want to recognize someone on the board.
you're right.
Perfect
Yeah.
attendance.
I forgot. So we do keep attendance and we send them every time. And we have one person who has perfect attendance.
Do I get a point in a chocolate bar?
This goes to you, Dr. Knight. Thank you. Small token of. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Well,
Dr. Lane has never faltered in being here with us and offering everything he's got for us. So it does, It's a big deal. I don't know if I even have her.
Thank
Yeah, again, everything should be labeled. We'll take about 30 minutes or so. If you don't mind, if you have that public comment video for this for us that we can watch in the meantime. And then we'll reconvene around the room. In 3:15. Yes, please go eat.
I'm
That's the
not
sack.
looking
That's
like
the sack.
about.
I sent you guys videos.
Teams.
Yeah.
That would be something.
Said they wanted to function. I've had playmates before. No, I'll need. He'll take the lead on it. Okay. And that's really let them know.
That's what's just not. It's off.
Is that how we?
Yes, yeah. Yeah. I think that's something. That one. I know they get a letter.
Necessarily. That should have thought it was pretty good. Out there. Thank you.
What is your support you every step of the way? That first.
Sound playing from your laptop or from here?
I'm not sure I'm about to change it. We'll see how it is.
Yeah.
No, I got Oh,
Best meeting.
Who got the good tea? Crack open it, Bob.
Freaking bottle.
There you go. You got it. On the old Boy Scout. Boy Scout. Yeah.
I'm not mad about it.
But that's one of the most useful things you can possibly have. You got to screwdriver and something else. Yeah, the number of things that you can like.
And I would know to think of.
You could be and then.
Right for those who. For some reason, those fall away.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we see it.
There's some down.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Right here. I think the most focus. Get the most imagining. Person that word. We go down. You so much like.
Put that down. I want to. Listen, yeah. Over.
What's
Yeah.
But not sweet.
Yeah.
Right.
Doing my breakfast. This is my breakfast.
Get my breakfast. I'm not like, I'm not about to wait.
I can't eat early, like I eat breakfast at like 10:30, 11, which becomes like my lunch. I guess.
That won't even be.
I don't usually eat until. Today, yeah. Oh, really? People think he's a real making.
No, no, I'm not. Like, looking around right now.
Got it. You
Say again?
living at home. Yeah, I come to, you be doing something. If you want.
Yeah, I have like, this is my last week in my apartment though, so I have an apartment, but I go back home.
Yeah. Good. From Raleigh.
I'm from, Wendell, Texas.
And my daughter lived in Wendell in the new area, Wendell Falls.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It is. Building them, they like crazy.
They are, like, my mom says she misses like the, small town live now.
Yeah, you gotta go a little further away.
If there's a way.
I haven't been downtown Wendell, so I really don't know what that even look like, you know?
It's really built up now, like, they put like the, it's called, just, so you get opens up like layers of, it's like a bowling alley.
Is that right?
So it's like, they really have like a lot of stuff, so it's like,
There's a college there.
Yeah, it really, I mean, Wendell, a lot of them are
it's
just-
definitely.
everybody wants to move to.
Is it like, what did you say?
So what was your major?
Communication.
Yep.
Get some good experience.
That's what I.
Yes, sir.
got confused with it, 'cause I thought it was even with junior, and I heard. And that's what this is before, yeah.
So we get you. Engagement with different generations. I really need your info.
Yes,
Let us slip by and, you know, how do you see some of that stuff we're saying?
So I get it.
We missed that.
I get it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think the track-
Yeah, family. We've been there.
Yes. It's something like I get stuck in thought, but, it was Kentucky.
And
Yeah, back. You know what I mean, like instead of, yeah. So that's what I do now, like there's a specific thing. I guess, donate. But, it's just upsetting, so,
And I think.
of course, we got the, still being hit the. Yeah. And we've been like saying, we're starting to make it, it's much better.
This.
I mean, we know, I've been trying to combine our schools. Yeah, but my kids don't get things like that.
I see that all.
You know what I mean?
It's it's funny because most people want down as well. Very good. When Martin Butler, both Henry Martin Butler, who's. Was like the problem like that's the when you tell me
What's your favorite? You're like.
And so.
I already have two, so I'm trying
Workshop is now.
Yes, that was my pre-K for sales, so he bought that.
But then we let them try that, so that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah. So this is. And same it's for camp. I was like, sit. I like. That's funny. The summer home.
So you have some great here.
Yeah. Lives in right. So. That's okay. So. But it's not, it's just, it's.
It is. You got, yeah.
No, they can't.
That's
Just
kind of like space that way.
They never owned it. Live there. It was still like. They owned land. They eat birds, berries, and broccoli. Like, they, HBC.
Oh, there's a guy, there's a flavor, but he's black.
It's a big White House.
It's well said.
So I know the gym. Are we going that way or the other way?
You know where Escalade
Mhm.
on South Street, across the street.
Oh, okay.
Right. Where's the,
That's.
something that is back, work, Daniel. These family live there. So I had some help, doctor beginnings. Like, I was very heavy. An amazing job. He was an, he, and I feel like he learned how to learn. I just did learn. Get rid of it. So it's cause. When the Democrats was like, Daniel, you know, think of your own. He was inevitably like me. Only. He's not gonna. Spend time.
Yeah, they got.
What? But they want to get rid of the house. And so they was pretty about doing. That makes sense because it.
Thank you to whoever coordinated the
So we
meal.
don't want to get rid of that.
All right. I don't know that. Thank you. This is one extra step, one extra step, one.
policy. We have our outreach committee chair, who's not here, who's Tom. We have our policy committee chair, who is not here and is not returning, who's Sarah. And we have our equity chair, Trey, who I think just stepped outside. So the idea was to be able to get some updates from each chair before we sort of go into committees, what we had talked about. It's a bit kind of old business where we are, maybe some new objectives to move forward with. Because Sarah is not here, I will handle the policy update, which does include one item of business going forward. And then I will ask Anthony and Cheryl just to tag team on anything that we can think of for outreach that hasn't been discussed or aside from that, the public input discussions to have shortly. To help fill in the blanks for any of that. And then, like I said, we'll just break into the committee on next month. So anything that is still in the balance or something that's come up today, the plan or desire to provide video or policy that we worked on, have a few minutes to talk about that. So I'm just going to start with policy. So the main, and Dr. Lane, Congress, please let me know if there's something else here too. What I remember of the April policy committee meeting, I don't know that the committee that the last two things that we discussed were creating recommendations for the outreach committees, rules of engagement, which we did spend some time on, made that recommendation to Tom. Some of that has been integrated into what that official policy looks like, which is great. The second thing was a public comment that was actually from April. And it was something that, it was an in-person comment that was made. We took it into committee and then decided at some point that it was something that the board needed to discuss. Again, I don't know how much time we'll have to discuss it today, but it is something that was out of the policy committee for the larger board to look at. So I'll read the comment. And then kind of open the floor to discuss it as we can. It's only matter of business policy, so you can get through it so that we can respond. Kind of close that loop on that comment. That would be great. So the comment came from Larry Healthband, and it was asking how the community board will work with the CAC, the Citizen Action. No, is that what they're called? Citizen Action.
Advisory.
Okay. I looked at it like that because it's scary. Citizen advisory committees and what that role looks like. The very general question, something that we've kind of rolled around for the past 2 years. And we talked about, again, I think we talked about it loosely in the committee meeting, but there was a general notion of a very comprehensive and collaborative community engagement network spectrum that we fit into without there being a direct responsibility of the community engagement board to one other aspect. So to CACs or nonprofits or anything, something where we work kind of in Congress with each other with this larger idea. I think that's kind of the consensus we got to, but again, since it's something that we didn't officially decide, question of the board specifically, the idea is to bring it to the board to offer an official response aside from that. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
So I'll open the floor for discussion on that comment, and then again, the hope is to come to a consensus on a collective board response to that comment to send to.
I'll go first because I'm the known supporter of CACs, so. One. So I think we should have an official position. And I think we should publicize an official position because I think it would take pressure on to what level and what extent we support them, I think you did it. There are a lot of groups and it is a comprehensive network. So, I think what probably helps also that more than anything is an acknowledgement that the CACs are there and are part of that larger environment. And, you know, we're not here to manage them and have to management. We're not here to, you know, they are part of the world. And I think we should have put out a statement to Larry and a statement to the world that says something to the effect of this is, you know, an acknowledgement and an appreciation. You know, we know they exist. We appreciate what they're doing. That is a form of community engagement, and we are fighting the same battle in another place. Because I think that that's sort of the universal sentiment that I've heard from the board. And it's probably overdue, but I think something to that extent, and we can wordsmith it and make it what it needs to be. But I don't think we want to take them over, and I don't think they want us to take them over. I think they want acknowledgement, and I think they want assistance. I mean, in February, we had a big vote. Everybody on city council voted for the CACs. Now, what's happened since then? I can tell you as someone who helps host the Zoom for the Southwest CAC, we don't have community center. We don't have technology assistance. We don't have anything more than we had in June. And that's why this keeps coming. So we should acknowledge them, we should support them, but not in the sense of, here we are coming to save the day, we're not your superhero. We just, we think they should be able to do what everybody else that, you know, wants to have a group in the city is able to. So.
Is it?
Taking the decision, not having.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have, as a group, not talked about CACs as a group for a long time, and all of our public comments basically have been about CACs. You know, so at some point, it needs to be addressed. And I think it needs to be addressed in a way we're all comfortable with, but I really do, I think you did it. I mean, you know, it is, you are a part of our universe. And I don't know what else they could want. I mean, from a CAC perspective, I'd like to be able to meet the Carolina Pines. I think in person begins in long overdue. I would like technology support. We saw, I don't know how many of you have heard about the meeting that got Zoom on, I didn't even know that was still a thing, but it was ugly and it was terrible. And I think the city should provide for support for them. And that's kind of where I see the you know, things living.
I think my only point of not conflict, but like that raises a hair about the specific comment was asking what was almost a request to know what service we're doing for them because we have a specific position. And I don't believe that we do.
I think that goes back to the mission that's on the city's website, the implementation. That it says in there.
About community.
Yeah, that communication board, why that needs to be taken off completely and put with what we said we would do it, because it is in conflict. And if I were not in this room and I read that, I'd go, what have they done for me? You know, here's this board. You know, the complaint was, and if you remember 4.5 years ago, when, you know, the vote was taken to eliminate CACs, it was the CACs are too expensive. That was sort of the public line. We can go to the tape and look at it and they kind of, you know, go, wow, you know, it's a lot of staff time, it's $12,000, that's too expensive. Well, we've replaced it with a vehicle that is much more expensive. And a literal vehicle, you're in a van. So, you know, it's something that I think if you're sitting there in one of these chairs positions that got dumped on their head, fought all the way through COVID, keep their group alive. And now they're sitting there going, wow, community engagement became a priority in the city of Raleigh. We've been waiting. That's where I think we've gotten to, you know, and I'm not saying we make this a priority there. I'm not saying we make this an objective. I'm saying we make a call. And that may be, you know, somewhere down the line, we may do something different, but I think in the near term, simply saying, you know, hey, you guys, yes, you're part of this world.
So where I have a problem with that is that we're not giving, like, the idea of reinstalling CACs as they existed. I think I sort of agree in the sense that there was a public story that was handed out. I think there are various dynamics in there that sort of describe a perilous situation, because the CACs being installed the way that they are and having access to city resources does actually make them a privileged organization. Right? It's different than a nonprofit organization. It's different than a community group that wants to, because we're not just talking about access to space. We're talking access to space, re-access to administrative services and all of those things. And I think where I find the biggest qualm is that when we say you're part of that world, that doesn't seem to actually hit what public comments in the past from CAC participants is really looking for, right? Like, my understanding, at least of one component of it, is that there were various access to zoning conversations, right? That's another layer of privilege that we're adding into that space that overtaxes city capacity in terms of staffing and all of those types of things. So I'm really concerned if we're holding in the space of like being able, in reference to the literal work we've been doing in sort of massaging the mechanisms that connect the city to individuals, that connect the city to various neighborhoods and communities. Because of those added pieces that the council brought in, it feels like we would be reinforcing the idea that these are special affiliations. And if you get in this way, you get a certain layer of access that we don't actually provide for the rest of the network. So it seems a little disingenuous to say that they're a part of the network and these extra things there. It also raises a question for me, like, if you're not in Carolina Pines, like, I would ask OCE, where exactly are we in the deployment of the engagement network? Where exactly are we in terms of reactivating the community centers? Are there conversations that are happening with CACs that let them know if it's a facility restraint, if it's whatever the case may be? Like, what is the conversation that's going on the literal city side on operations to make that a reality? Because that's what we can do. That's what we have done. That's what we've supported. So how are we holding OCE accountable in that interaction is the thing that I would raise.
And I think that's a good point, because in both of those comments, my mind goes to, we're not, in a very childish way, we're not the responsible ones. Like, the office of community engagement is the one that's responsible for everything that happens in this network. Our responsibility is to manage what CACs do.
I agree, and
And I think that's where
I
that
don't
comment.
think yeah, I know, and I think it's one of those things that they wouldn't want it if we brought it. We said right now, I mean, I'll be honest. If we were to say right now, hey, based on this comment, we want to take over CACs. I mean, that, you know, we would have a revolt on the other end, and that's why I said, you know, we've got to, I think we need to strike a balance. I get asked this question a lot, and every time, you know, I go, look, there's a lot of ways to, you know, I give the same spiel over and over again, but I think we're running against something that's just not really in the way, you know, and it is a, you know, in so many ways, it's a fair and valid question. You know, hey, we're community engagement too, why not us? Okay, I agree with you. I think they're different. I think they've gotten some different privileges. I think in a perfect world, I would have, as council, rebooted the entire system if I wanted the system gone. But it's not perfect, you know, and you know, to that end, you do have these groups that are out there, they're meeting, they're chipping away at things. Zoning cases come to our CAC. They ask us, you know, I mean, it's, you know, they want to talk about what they're doing because they want public support. It's an easy way to get it. We have 3 police academies that come every single meeting to talk about crime, what's going on, and, you know, crime prevention, and how we can help, and what we're seeing on the ground to help them. Inspections, every single meeting. Talking about, you know, places that, you know, hey, look, we're working on this, we're working on that. These things are happening. And the thing that worries me the most, and I've expressed this before, I wish they were happening in a structure. It worries me that every CAC is evolving differently. And some of the previous CACs are gone completely. So you have some areas that have none. Some areas that have what we have, where it's a monthly meeting and it's, you know, you've got, you know, Bob there running down through everything, you know, Larry CAC. That's in there, you know, so I mean, I don't know, I don't have an answer. I'll just go ahead and say that. I got no answer. But I think short term, to alleviate some of the tension, something from us that says, yeah, we see.
So to that end, are there, we'll call it 3 statements, guiding statements that we can kind of collectively agree on that answer this question of our relationship to DAs? That would be something that would be a statement, but again, just a response to how we see our position in this engagement network.
Can you hear from staff first on what we don't know? Because I feel like we don't know what we don't know. So.
Okay, let's get Ron's question.
Could you tell me a little bit about like, the how they form, like if somebody wanted to start a new one?
Okay, we're gonna
Like, not necessarily that, but like, just where do they come from? Where, how do they find each other?
We're
You
gonna
know what I mean? It's like, kind of the process, but okay.
let, not even go.
We do want to share during staff updates about the engagement network. We are launching it July 1st. If you've been paying attention to like city council meetings, you would have heard, I think it was in the April meeting, that they asked us to move forward with it without CACs being considered part of that membership. So the engagement network, for like our new folks who don't know what it is pretty much an opportunity for small groups that aren't necessarily neighborhood based to get access to a lot of different benefits, like using city equipment or renting out a center or having a staff contact, different things like that that will help you kind of convene and have these meetings based off certain interests, right? So if you have I don't know, a bike league or something like that, and you wanted to join the engagement network, that would be where you can start. So starting July 1st, that's when we're gonna launch the network, and we have a news article on our website already that explains all the different things about it, the benefits, how to apply, and then what the next steps are. As you all know, we do have a Raleigh neighborhood registry. It's very different from the engagement network, but not really very different. The only difference is that it's not neighborhood based, right? And so if you are a neighborhood that wants to get registered, you go to the Raleigh neighborhood net registry. If you're a community group or an organization or a small nonprofit, you can go to the engagement network. And so that's my update on that. There is still conversation about potentially having CAC be part of the engagement network. But that decision hasn't been made or approved yet. I myself have absolutely no control over how long they take to make a decision. I could relay the messages and the frustrations to the people that are actually making a decision on this. That's pretty much all the CE can do in regards to that. Yes.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Could you restate the question that you had for staff?
We're just, we need of what's happening behind the scenes.
Okay.
I think we got it. Nothing.
Making sure we didn't miss it. Sorry, go ahead.
But
So IT is here.
Yes, we're gonna get through this.
Okay.
Because I was such a member and I was, I wanted to make sure we was at the team. Go ahead.
just a point of clarification in that you said that moving forward, going live July 1st, it sounds like what I'm hearing is that perhaps there are operational considerations, like in the world of bringing them in because they don't look like everybody else.
Yeah.
It's possibly even a conversation of like who then manages the literal city resources that come with it, kind of a thing.
Right, yeah, I mean, I can say from what I know with, why it's taking so long. We have like our budget just got approved, right? So we have to consider if it's a technology needs that CACs have, and we want to use specific community centers, we have to make sure that there's space available. We also have to make sure that there's funding to cover the additional equipment, because I believe not all centers have the same, like, they're not all the same, right?
No.
So some have no technology, some have this, right? They have the projector and they have the screens. Some have really shoddy Wi-Fi, right? So they have to be like a rehaul kind of, so that we make sure that, not, the Southwest CAC has a better center than, Northeast or whatever. So that's kind of like the holdup. I know when it comes to the budget, the city budget, those conversations started in January. Departments were sending their, what we call supplementals and what they want to be part of the budget. So I know, the CACs were reinstated in February, right? So like, it was just timeline wise, there are things that, needed to happen before it could even be introduced to the budget. So that's what they're trying to figure out. And it's disappointing that it's taken so long. I agree with you guys. So hopefully, there'll be an answer soon, and I can relay the frustration and the meeting of, CACs having this equipment and all the same benefits that the engagement network folks will get.
Before we go to questions, Dale, you need to after that.
Not really. Everything that Nadia said is true. I mean, honestly, the decision right now with the CACs is lying within the city manager's office. And so they've taken it kind of out of our hands per se, and they are deciding on that, and we have not had an update on what they decided.
Is it either one of your understandings, I've heard anyone that OCE was pushing, like that CACs were in a cart that OCE was driving, or was it more that OCE was doing the engagement network and there came a point of like, how do we fit this in there? It was never a thing that OCE was sort of designated to be underneath.
No, I feel like you guys were part of the conversation when we were initially talking about the engagement network. We wanted CACs to be part of it.
Right, they were a part of that.
Like our office was thinking about all communities, right, including CACs. And, as the conversations progressed, there were a lot of infrastructure and things that needed to happen that would impact, I guess, how we can actually include them in there. And then, I think we also have to have a conversation with CACs to see if they're even interested in being part of the engagement network. And so those things have to happen first. And yeah.
This is the rest.
Want to keep this in mind, we've got about 5 minutes to get through.
I don't want to cheat you out of what you need to know. All right, as a CAC chair, I am involved in our CAC, which is the offices of the active CAC, 8 or 9. We have bylaws and chairman and vice chair. We are meeting right now, with city council and the office of city manager now on these issues that y'all are bringing up to help them understand how they want to bring, we want CACs to come back. Looking at all those questions that you just brought up. So we want to get an official working group to work with them. If you remember the presentation on April 16th, that was the update was given by staff. There's a lot in here that's been approved already. So now CACs will say, yes, we agree, don't agree, but we weren't at the table when this was developed. So now we're at the table now, so we can say, hey, let's that. This is above, because staff cannot make the decision. Their direction is going to come from city council to staff, and we know that. So that's why we're meeting with them on these issues. So I think with the approach that you want to take is going to be your wording to this request. Number one, taking in the network and taking in the recognition already given by City Council of CACs, combined with that recognize this as a unique organization and what they wrote that out already. So if we agree with that, then that's part of, and how these unique organizations are going to fit in. We've been talking about a long time how this conversation was going to go. It's just gotten to this point to have a little bit more, but you don't know what you don't know. So I wanted to make this statement. And I hear everything, I've heard all of it, but there is a few of us at a meeting and Christine is the representative for the city council, and the representative from the city manager's office hasn't even got down to them. They don't even know we've been meeting with them twice already. Third meeting coming up, and you will hear no more. So anyway, I want you to understand what the rest of the story is. As I listen to this, it's tough for me to listen because you don't know.
On the heels of that, because to bring this all back to this specific question, that, to speak frankly, is above our pay. Like, that history is very important to know that, but even hearing that makes me think about answering this question of what we're going to do for them or what our responsibility is to them, is to acknowledge that we are on the same playing field. Like, we work in the same network. We're not above you to take or do anything from you or for you, but to work with you. That's what I said. I hear your approach. What both of you said is going to be your wordsmithing. Right.
To get this right.
Make sure
But first there's the network, and then there's the recognition of CAC
right.
being come back by city council.
I'm just making sure
And
that's the same kind of unison idea that we have on the topic. Looking to everybody to get.
Based on what you've done here, Mark, to this point, is now a good time to on and have this conversation in 2 months.
What concerns me is that in our policy, we said when public makes comments, we would get back to them.
Yeah.
Okay, I spent how long was Daily made this comment back in March? April. So, again, our own system said you get back or updated or something. Again, I think you're on the right track of it's just how you're going to word that. So that the CACs, and that was an individual that was asking that question. Okay, that was an individual asked that, and again, may not have been the RCAC asked that. That was an individual.
I disagree with watching that point because we've had conversation about how we represent ourselves as individuals and whether or not we're speaking for the board or not, and there was no distinction. So I want to push back a little bit because it was presented as a question.
I understand.
That
I understand.
I'm gonna go to Carmen and then I'm gonna ask for consensus here.
So is it possible that we could, because for some reason, I thought we had already said that we always immediately sent a note saying, thank you for your.
That's correct.
We did.
So we've already done
Yes.
that.
Yes,
We're
in the
to the right.
speaker,
Right. So I don't know what I, it's fun at all right now. Because we don't know how we want to answer the question. I mean, we have a goal, but
I feel like we did kind of have some consensus.
That's what I'm saying. I can respect that there are things going on behind the scenes
Right.
that will define what CACs are and how they operate, and that the city is going to determine that.
You don't need.
That's my point. That's not our responsibility to decide on. So
the only thing I see that we need to respond to them is that basically what you said.
Right.
We are the community engagement board, and as such, we would deal with you like we would deal with anybody else. You were another organization that is part of the community engagement network in the city of Raleigh.
So all we're looking for is a consensus in that thought. Because it does have to come from our board.
And I think adding to that, I think what you said, but adding the statement before that we appreciate it and not recognize the work that they are doing. That's
I
valuable.
even recognize the city council's vote of recognition. That, making the statement that we we recognize the city council, and also that we recognize that, I mean, you know, I don't know how to say this, but there's a lot going on in this space. And, you know, we're here. I mean, if the city council says tomorrow, you guys, you're now the RCAC, they're not. Let's say they did, you're now in charge. We would take on
We're
that
all
task.
deciding.
And then, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if there's a directive to do something, then, you know, I think this board picks up that directive, but there's no directive.
So general consensus. They exist and we are glad and do not deny that they exist for any reason.
We appreciate
Or
their
value.
valuable contribution in the area of community engagement.
And they have value,
Two,
intrinsic value to this
Yeah.
area and community. Two, we are part of a network. So there's not one standalone organization that decides how to engage with the community. We all work toward the same goal with different roads toward that goal. And three, that something else, no, we're all in the same network. They exist and they have value and we acknowledge that, appreciate, accept that. We have the same goal. That's how we look at how we're working with them. So,
Can I say this? I agree with Anthony that even though we send that is not going to stop the tension or the conversations. Because my personal opinion is, I don't think the CACs want there to be any other community engagement except CAC.
I think that's fine. If it doesn't stop anything, our job is to respond to the comment brought to us.
And I think that does it.
And CAC,
I would be careful about that.
Yeah, correct.
Again,
I'm gonna stop it.
Yeah.
We're off track.
Yeah.
If those three things are general consensus, I will take any recommendation for the policy committee to draft this response. You want to vote on it again to see it, we can. Purposes of this comment and the consensus we've found so far, to draft a short statement in response to Larry's comment that we can approve at our next meeting and then send on within an appropriate period of time. So if anyone wants to make that motion,
So moved.
Yes, sir.
we'll discuss. We'll discuss.
sick.
So we got-
Statement.
Here we go. We've got a motion by Carmen to accept,
The three statements you just put in.
which I can give you.
Yes, we'll see a minute to refine those statements. Wordsmith.
So let's start again with the motion. Who's making the motion? Carmen.
My motion is that we send Larry Helton a response to his question encompassing the statements that you read. Jeff will get to me in a minute. And not go back to the because if this full committee votes on it, then it needs to be typed up and sent. It is a long one. But we've been arguing over this stuff since the first day.
The motion is made. Is there a second for that specific motion?
There was a motion not to have another vote though, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, I second that.
So general secretary, any other discussion?
We're not related to this, but I know we don't have time today, but
It's got to be germane to this motion. Any discussion germane to this motion? Once. Or twice. So all those in favor of the motion to draft the response, and you want me to read that?
This is what I have, to send a response to Larry's question based on Stacy's consensus statements without going to policy committee because it just needs to be written and sent. Seconded and shared. Those are little words that happen.
That is the motion. All of those in favor of that motion, please audibly say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Cannot abstain, any abstention is voted in affirmation.
I can't, then no.
Okay. I think I'm going to know that as well, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 voting members, so 9 in favor, 2 not. So the motion passes. Sorry. Okay.
no,
All right.
no. So my question is, I know we don't have time today, but can we carve in our items monthly? You just, you in a bit more detail. I feel like it's fuzzy, or where can I go to get more? Because I feel like for me, it's been some thinking back. I guess it's been a little fuzzy for me to understand the boundaries. So if not here, you can point me to where I can go.
Maybe we can, since after July 1, you'll be at least speaking to the network that's active, and then you'll know what isn't part of that network, so maybe staff can help us build around that. And frame the conversation, and again, not to cut you off, but we've had lots of time spent on those conversations before, and certainly we're going to get into 2 hours, right? But we can kind of go into.
I know some, but not.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe I can submit a questions about.
Thank you for that. I know I didn't want to cut it short, but I also didn't want to get us in the weeds. And I want to make sure we got that. To your point, it's been 73 days since that comment, because it is in the chapter. So to get us somewhere on it, I'll probably send it to you anyways, even if it doesn't go to a vote for the policy committee, because I don't trust myself to be able to write something. And to Jeff as well. But we'll have that done. We do have someone that joining us, as you saw, from the City of Raleigh IT office. Part of his being here, was at request because of what would be the outreach committee's update. And we'll kind of listen to another conversation that's on our agenda about our workplace conversation tool. But with respect to time, we're going to do just a quick update on where we are in those conversation tools, and this will kind of serve as the average update, and then have to discuss a little bit of what that might look like depending on which tool we use, and we'll go from there. That sounds okay. Okay.
Anywhere stand?
Wherever you're comfortable. I think Nadia, if you want to give an update on anything first,
Yeah.
tell me how it would work best for first.
Stand up. So I know the last time you all were involved in this, and I know some of you aren't part of the outreach committee. But during the outreach committee meeting, some folks met with public input and they walked through a demo, and talked about all the features. There is a recording of that, that we will make available to you all, but pretty much, their features, are very similar to Portico, which is the other platform. Public input, for those who don't know, is the platform that the City of Raleigh uses for all its surveys. We actually have a website called Engage Raleigh, where you can go and take any survey related to different projects, initiatives, services that the city is working on, and give your feedback through those surveys. They have a lot of additional tools and features, like this AI tool, that basically records conversations, or you can upload your recorded conversations and it will transcribe, and also analyze the data, and collect themes, and, have some sort of like report, right? Similar to Portico, for those who already are familiar with Portico. And so from that conversation, our office has been working with communications and IT, just to figure out what would be the next step if we were to go forward with public input or Portico. So that's what my update is going to be about today. Pretty much with public input, it's a little difficult to move forward with it because we're unsure of the timeline. So because public input is something that we have already had a contract with, we just reviewed our contract. In our current contract, it does not mention that we'll have these AI features or the transcription kind of stuff, or even for those who were part of the public input demo, they also have this feature where you can look at a map of Raleigh and see areas where there's not a lot of engagement going on. Because obviously, when we do our surveys, it's a lot of surveys that we launch in a year, and we can see where people are, their IP addresses, or they, self report their addresses or zip codes and things like that. So you'll be able to actually use that map to see, okay, well, I see this area around, let's say Donald Ross is not really, engaged in a lot of City of Raleigh engagement efforts. But we currently do not have access to that. In our contract, we don't have like the pricing and all that stuff. So if we were to if you all were to say, I want to use public input as our communication or community conversation tool, we would have to first figure out if we're gonna make public input available to all boards and commissions, right? So that's the conversation we need to have. And then from there, we need to actually get pricing and the proposal, scope of work, and it could take a bit longer to figure that out than it would if we were to go forward with Portico, because Portico would be its own contract. It would be just for you all to use, and we don't have to, have a conversation with communications and IT to figure out, the logistics around making public input available to everyone. So that's my update on that. I think it's now up to you all. If you do want to see how public input's AI version works and, the tools, I did also meet with them recently and have recorded that as well. So that you can see, because I know last time we spoke to Portico, they were still developing their AI capabilities. So that is available now. And, they're willing and able to do a lot of capacity building and training on, getting folks or figuring out how we're gonna narrow down 6 to 8 people per community conversation, or, the facilitation, or all the different components that come to it. They work with different municipalities like New York City and Durham, right next door. So they have that experience and they can really be hands-on versus public input has tutorials and things you can search online, but it's not going to really be that face-to-face kind of capacity building. So that's your decision to make. That's my update. And then once you all decide, or if you have questions for us, we can also answer questions. But once you all decide what you want to go forward with, TJ will be able to tell you what our next steps are.
I'll kind of give you guys a spiel on the general IT procurement and how it works. I think we had a question first.
Yes, real quickly, as far as the current license with public input, is it possible, regardless of whether we choose public input or Portico, to do the gap analysis and look at where surveys have been answered so we can try and focus on the underserved areas?
So perfect question, and I will answer that. So PJ Singh, nice to meet everybody here. This is my first time joining this board. If you guys need me back anytime, Nadia knows how to call me. I manage the business relationship partners as well as business analysts for City of Raleigh. I've just been 6 months on the job, 5 years prior to this. I worked in Charlotte for Mecklenburg County. So I'm used to doing a large scale projects, especially when it comes on IT, to try to help the community overall. What I want to do is kind of talk about the procurement steps and some of the things that we have to follow. And the reason why it can take up to a certain time frame to be able to review some of these software, especially when it comes to AI realm. There are 3 different things that we have to consider. One is, what is the implication from an IT side? That there is a procurement piece that we must adhere to because their contract length, languages, how do we pay the vendor, invoicing, all of that has to be figured out. And then there's also the legal piece of it. So all 3 of these items work hand in hand. The IT piece can get complicated because depending on what the software is, and especially AI being such a big word, whenever it comes to recording individuals, taking that recording and extrapolating that and making summarization, it can get complicated because where does that recording go? Who has access to it? Do they store it on a server that we own? Do they store it in the cloud somewhere? Who has ultimate responsibility to be able to see the data if it's being done correctly? And so there's complications from the IT side that can, from a security perspective, you just have a new CISO that has to make a decision to say whether or not this. So there's a bunch of meetings that we have to have once you guys pick the solution that we go out. The question on, can we do a fit gap analysis? That is the second piece. So the VRPs help you guys navigate these complexities of different teams. Procurement needs to be authorizing it. Legal needs to authorize it. That's one team. the other team, which is the business analyst, can help to say, hey, if I was take a look at what is available in Cortico versus what is the capability of public input, that team can kind of make recommendations to say, here's some of the jurisdictions that use these two software. Here's what industry leaders are saying, what's good or what's not good. If they say industry-wide software, or in case of Cortico, they're very new. They are a nonprofit organization, and I think they are up and coming, but they're very new. So we may not have as much data on them as we may for public input. But once again, business analysts on my team can do that analysis for you guys and kind of present some recommendations to say, here's what we see good, here's what we see that is, not being offered by the software itself. So depending on the time frame, depending on the complexity, depending on how quickly we want to move, also budget is a big thing. When do you guys want to do it? It can take anywhere from a month to 3-4 months to try to get all of this processes done once we've identified. If it is a very targeted RFP where we are just, nope, we want to do Cortico, we want to do it as fast as possible, there are meetings and processes that we can use to expedite it. But the decision-making upfront and the overall business requirement has to come from here, as well as the department say, here's the business requirement, we've got the money to do it, can you run with it, do it as fast as possible, right? So if that decision is made, yeah, there are ways that I can go to the CIO and say, hey, this needs to be happening, must be done. We do that all the time for RPD and UCC and some of the other departments that move very, very quickly, right? But there has to be long-term implications that needs to be considered, right? Is it going to be vendor management? Is it going to be managed by internal IT once they are done, right? Vendor can come and give us a tool, but what happens if that tool breaks down after the vendors left? And is that responsibility of Nadia and their team, or is that something that we're gonna have to do? So there's a lot of consideration, but to be able to decide all of that, the first step is like, let's make a decision. And even if you need to make that decision and need recommendations, we have business analysts that kind of give you guys pros and cons of the question. Yes.
So based on the current relationship that the city of Raleigh has with public,
Yes.
is it possible for us to do a gap analysis and see what areas are underrepresented in the surveys that are taken by the citizens in Raleigh?
Potentially, yes. So I will need to figure out from a system-wise how we're using that software today. And based on the requirement, what is the functionality that you guys are asking to add on to in the contract? Does that functionality just not being used today? Or is it that, that was not implemented? If it's not implemented, we can kind of tell you this is going to take longer.
Yeah.
But we
It seems like
have had,
incredibly valuable information the city of Raleigh would want to know where the surveys are being taken, where the surveys are not being taken. And I think for our purposes, where surveys are not being taken, would be a statement of there is less community engagement in those spots.
Sure.
But is that something that we would need a new contract for, or is that something in our existing contract with the city of Raleigh?
if that functionality exists and we're not utilizing it,
Mhm.
we still have to add a new department. So we will need to change a new statement of work to say, hey, now we're going to need a new add-on to that contract regardless, right? So a change order has to execute for adding on a new department. But whether or not that new contract just says, it's just, we're going to use the functionality that already exists, you don't have to develop anything. If it exists after the big gap analysis, or if it's something brand new.
Yeah, we can look into, seeing if that's something that's already available, with.
So is that something you want to use public input now is your office?
Yeah, we use public input.
Okay,
But it exists in the song.
we saw.
That's right. So I was just gonna say, and didn't we were the last meeting, he kind of turned his computer around and you could see where the gaps
I
were.
think the
Yeah.
question is, no contract on the table with us. If Nadia goes and wants to see areas that are not being engaged, can she go to public input and pull that data right now herself, or whoever
No, we would have to work with their account manager to show us those functionalities.
but it doesn't require new software.
No,
anything,
get,
no new
to
contract.
get that data and just work with their account manager, and that is not
So in theory, even if we said we want to use everything, 90% of what we love about Portico, and then use whatever resources that already exist under the existing contract with the city's contract with public input, Nadia can pull that information and we could just marry the two
Absolutely.
without creating a new contract.
Absolutely. Well, no, so once again, adding the new department may require a change order of the existing contract.
Which is.
For public input. Oh, you already have public input, then that's fine. Yeah, I didn't know if community engagement was already part of, if it is, yeah, then definitely 100%.
So,
I feel like that, I mean, what I saw from public input, the Corco, everything was very impressive. What I saw from public input was something that was very interesting to me, which is these are your dead zones. These are where people are not responding. I'm like, those are the people I want to hear from. And I feel like that's, incredibly important if we're looking at this and trying to figure out where do we start. So.
I guess one question I have is, remember after we looked at Corrigo, there was discussion that we have to add another request for proposal, correct?
So there's two options. You can do an RFP, right, request for proposal, open it up to anyone to
Targeted.
apply. Or you can get 3 or attempt to get 3 proposals, right? So we have public input, we have Portico, and then we also spoke to Screen App. I don't know if you guys were updated on that. And they're actually based in Australia and do not have a license to do business in Raleigh
That's
and
gonna be
North Carolina.
legal.
So technically, we've met that procurement requirement already. And so the decision would be, which one should we move forward with the next steps, right?
But I don't recall seeing what the proposal from public comment was in terms of cost. I mean, we know what Corrigo was. I don't remember seeing what the cost was for public comment.
I think we just have to have a statement in a request or have interest or request information. So we don't have to have a full proposal. It's just an attempt to reach another vendor who does a similar thing 3 times. So we did that with public input. We did that with Portico,
Okay.
and we tried the other people there. So with Microsoft, I think we tried. with them.
Yeah, we
They
just
never
tried with
responded,
Microsoft.
But that might have counted anyway. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think procurement, a lot of times you can do a targeted one because there's only certain vendors that do this job. And you can meet it, especially if you try to do one and those guys are enough. That outside, especially when it comes to recording the community, outside vendor where the data is physically not gonna be in US is a big security noise.
I guess I was going to say something that creates a level of concern in what I'm hearing. I guess it sounds like we can still perform the same activities, but the difference to me is that public input is a survey platform, and we already know surveys are underperforming. That's one of the reasons why we're looking at these other ways of engagement to learn about the community. So I know that that AI piece feels like it comes in, but it doesn't address the actual collection piece of it, which I thought Portico did a more effective job of in terms of guiding our own activities as we go out into the field. And to me, as a researcher, that feels like the most important thing, to have the care and concern as we go out to learn about the community, that it's a systematic process, that it's something that can be replicable, that it's sustainable, all of those things that exist in there. And I just don't know that that's there with public input in what I'm hearing right now. I get that there's an AI piece to do the analysis, but now that I've heard more of the context, it makes me uncomfortable in the sense of doing systematic analysis through AI, because I don't know who programmed what and what the actual processes are. So when somebody tells me that a word appeared 3,000 times, that's great, but what does it actually mean when we situate it in larger bits? It's like you can train an AI to look at certain things, but the special emergence that happens when you have people that read a thing together and cobble knowledge from that and explore that analysis can be really transformative, because AI can't be programmed to see things that people don't know about. Radical co-inclusion is beyond the structures of our society. So we are in unknown territory, and it makes me nervous to think that AI programmed by a limited human being who's not specifically in this context to actually implement all of the coding that's necessary would miss things.
I think largely that was what I walked away from with the public input. The thing that I saw there that was very interesting was when they populated the screen with where surveys have been taken, there were some areas that were empty. And my thought was those are the areas we probably need to target because those are the areas that people don't care about. You know, so trying to start there, using that to inform the direction of Portico, well, you know, this area is where we need to go because nobody else is there, unless that area just happened to be empty, which maybe the Dick's Big Field is what I was looking at, but I think it was better than that. So I mean, I think there was some areas that we, you know, we could really look at and, you know, help ourselves move this forward in finding people that maybe aren't engaged, which would be fascinating to do this project with the board.
That real quick, I think that actually might be able to guide our traveling in this upcoming year.
Yeah,
Like where is
that's like, that's free, let's jump on board.
Let's go over there and then get more intentional about inviting public comment, those types of things that.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna stop this really quick just to give a quick overview. I know putting out a front door, all of this conversation is about software that's supposed to help us compile or to help us engage in conversation, small groups of people in different neighborhoods about what's going on in their neighborhood, their specific issues, desires, feelings about what's going on, what may need to be done. So the purpose of either Portico, which is one tool, or public info, which the city uses, is to be able to have those conversations, collect that information, have it synthesized through AI, I guess, and be able to create things based on what those conversations bring out across neighborhoods, across all those conversations, and then have some actionable items for us to recommend to city council that we've seen these threads, trends, here are things that we can do. That's kind of in general what we're talking about, and then figuring out which of those components or a combination of the two that will work best for us to do that in this experience.
And I wanted to add one more thing, just, I know we've done a demo of Corridor, I know they're nonprofit, they're on news, so, but there have been instances in the past that we've got department input, we've taken a look at the tool, and we've rejected it because of security and things. So just take that as a caveat. I'm not saying we will reject Portico or anything like that, but public input already being there kind of has a leg up because we've already vetted it and that's already being used, right? Portico, if there are any policies, anything that comes across security, I'm saying there will be, but there is a possibility that you guys come to us with a tool and after our analysis, either legal or security or something, that we will say no. So,
So the point being though, if that were to happen, we analyze the tool that the city have now, and we recommend improvements in that area, then you would develop how to address those gaps.
we could take a look at what else is there in the market. We could help you, my business.
But you couldn't do it.
We couldn't develop it because, yeah, we won't have the base code for that software. That is a vendor-based software. And we would have to request it from them depending on what we are requesting. They may or may
So
not.
what I'm
make
saying
the
is,
change.
so the software that you have now that you're using is limited. You can't improve on it.
No, we are not allowed to because it's a vendor-based software.
So the city uses public input,
Yeah.
he does not work. with
So,
public input.
okay, yeah.
So public input would have to create or amend whatever
Right.
software
Yeah.
that the city.
So
says,
they
"Hey,
could
this
do
is the
that."
problem." Yes, but it would have to be directly.
Yeah. Okay.
Just want to add one more thing. I know we're talking a lot about like AI, at least with Portico, you can go in, part of their process is to have 2 reviewers. So you review the transcription, you ensure that it's correct. You enter your own codes and then it can suggest additional codes. You'll see that in the demo, but just wanted to mention that because I know some folks might not understand that process.
And we have done other transcript softwares where we're talking with a lot of different vendors for, emergency calls and automatic routing, things of that nature. So AI is happening. We just have to be careful with all of the rules and regulations that City of Raleigh wants to set to make sure we don't share public data with it, right? And just control it.
You can also share those demos. I think they were both included, the Portico one, which we talked about a lot, but the public input one was technically the outreach committee's last meeting, but if you want to see the demo of it. Yeah, and so you can see the.
I just like, and then you send me the details.
Just another point, I think it might be worth making again. So Portico has done exactly what we were what we are looking to do, the project that fit that need. Public comment has not yet done that work, that type of work. So while they have worked with the city of Raleigh and they do surveys, they have not done what Cordigo does. So in addition of the extra time it would take, opening it up to other boards and going through a lot of that time, they also have not created what Cordigo is. So I think in that sense, using public comment to find the gaps, using Cordigo to do the actual project would be the most efficient and time-saving way to do this project.
And one thing I would suggest is just to make the process faster while you guys are still talking, we can request the scope of work and start doing our IT vetting for Cordigo on the back end. That way, if you guys make a decision to say go, right, most of that work will be done and then we can start. But we don't need to wait until you guys have made the money to do.
One of the great things that Nadia brought up the other day was, at least it felt better to me in my opinion. Even if we started with something like Cordico and in the next year, public input creates something that's new and better, because this is always going to be evolving. We have a year contract with Cordico. If it fits better, that's not a vendor we want to work with and it's a better switch. However, we can do that on the back end of that. We don't have to stick with that. So it's 1 year. So if public input becomes a better, or if they are able to add us into a contract next year, instead of going back now retroactively adding these things and then waiting for software, then that's an option.
And that kind of data will be great to know, because one of the stipulations we'll put in the data is we can extract our data
Right.
and take it anytime we want with us. That data does not belong to the company.
Right.
We want to take that data. Now public input has that tool. Take that data, extract it, put it in public data, and if they can do the AI portion next year, perfect. Yeah.
So I don't want to push us in any direction, but I know it's a lot of information, especially now having seen all the demos and everything, but wanted to, one, have somebody who knows what's going on the other end, because I don't know, and it's not, Nadia Dale got to know all of those intricacies, but also to know some of the options that we have, and then if there's a specific leaning to those things, then we can work in that.
Could we make a motion to go ahead as he suggested and go ahead and do the background work for Cordigo?
Yep, so
Would that be-
request, we have the account manager's name and all of that, so that's request the scope of work for a year long, and we can at least start as long as you guys are okay with it.
I think the other piece that I would ask in there, because it sounds like there's interdependence in the motion, like I get a sense that we all want to see the demos. And is that accurate? I mean,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, they were like hour-long meetings, is that?
Public input is an hour.
So you could do what everybody does and maybe hit it on 3 times speed and then just talk about interesting things. I mean, who watches council that? I'm sorry.
Two Cordico.
So I would love for us to talk about a decision that sort of hinges those things in that space, right? Like that we see some of the back-end work happening. What are we doing to move closer in our decision making? That's my question.
So is that altering Cheryl's motion for them to start their due diligence on background Cordico?
I didn't hear her say much.
I would think,
But
I would make a motion, to ask to do the background work on Cordigo while we explore the demos and come in and meet next month to see if we can make a decision.
Or is there a second? Second by Anthony, any discussion? They have to be diligence on Cordico and budget.
Yeah, so, we have $10,000 for this. And starting January 1st, we'll have that available, to purchase a platform, or to a license. I don't know the technical stuff. But
I
it
don't
is in our
either until
budget.
I see the scope of work. So they might say here, only 2 users are allowed, so it depends on what their scope of work says.
Yeah, but it is in our budget, for next fiscal year, starting July 1st, 2024.
Okay, and if you meet next week, We're
Basically.
basically at that point in the meeting
Yeah.
next week. Cause I was like, oh, that feels so far away.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why people, why nonprofits or even like organizations do their fiscal years in half a year.
So this budget,
So you don't have to.
Community engagement.
budget, not our budget, not the CD.
Nope, you guys still get your 5K.
But it does not roll over from year to year.
It does not roll over.
Any other discussion on this motion? Okay, all those in favor of Cheryl's motion to due diligence on Portico while coming back to decide after demos, please audibly say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, get out of here.
How many of these that happen?
Like, we need our account.
Thank you so much. for being
Thank you
here.
very much.
What our options are.
Thank you so much.
Oh, we have one more question for you.
Yes.
It's a small question. Community Engagement Board website. We have two places where an email address is listed. Is it an easy fix to update that to the specific Community Engagement Board email rather than the city email?
Very,
Okay.
Yeah.
very simple. Just let me know what needs to be done. I can create a picture. It'll be
Got
done.
it on record. Yeah.
Also the mission statement.
Oh, and to add, there's a portion where there's just a kind of general description of what the board does. We have a specific, an actual board mission statement in the bylaws that we'd like to update.
Once again, very simple, but for non-email actual tasks, I can make sure in, communication or the public facing folks review the statement and give me the heads up. But once again, actual replacing it, very simple, but somebody needs to, they need to tap that for them.
Yeah.
Once they give me a heads up, then actually replacing the text, not,
I have it on, I can do it.
okay.
You talking Katie?
Yeah, I have a question. Yes, you to do with this, or probably. Could you mention what, did we spend that $5,000? Do we get a, or,
You don't have a treasurer.
No, they,
but
They-
the city staff is good, I mean, do we have something that tells what we did spend our money on?
Yeah, I can tell you both. Nothing's random.
we only got a couple of days if we want to spend it on.
You got till Monday.
Let's do that at the end because Donnie's had a good recommendation.
Oh.
So Monday, and we're gonna talk about that.
Okay, I'm just, I was
Yeah.
curious, do we get a report?
That's, we
This
have
is
not
the
asked,
annual-
that's a good idea.
This is the annual retreat. We get a report.
We'll have that too. Procedure for the retreat, because that's important. Okay, we are all out of time away.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Out of line with our agenda, just to get this kind of off of our plate, I'll ask Trey, do you have any updates from the equity committee?
Not really, we didn't have our last meeting, we didn't have the numbers at our last meeting, but listen, I'm gonna keep the reins over to Jeff, since I will no longer be, chair of the equity, committee, subcommittee, but, still, trying to move forward, and with Taisha being back, he does have, but, say, he still invited the guys.
Tentatively,
Is it the assistant city manager?
Michael Moore, yeah. I think he may come for the August meeting. Last I heard, Shakira, who's here earlier as well.
That covers policy, outreach, the discussion about Portico. Outreach update, aside from creating social media, which we talked about, and the rules and the things you picked up.
Pretty remember Saturday, it's not, that's a record.
I think Veronica was between policy and outreach. I'd love to hear you sit in something with outreach. That would be great. Because they are down and that is your expertise. I think everybody else, I'm elected to stay where they are. So we'll do that. It really just makes three of us.
We feel lost.
We did too.
Well,
Just expand.
No, not yet. So we're down, but
Nobody else wants to be.
we do have new. So, yeah, so Trey was equity, and she was our equity chair. Anthony is outreach, policy, equity, policy, equity, outreach. And then we had some members who resigned, so.
Sarah, okay.
The Tokuchico. We had some members that resigned, so are not resigned, so they're not here, so it looks like kind of out of balance, but our past chair, board chair, Sarah was on policy, past member Leon was on outreach.
Leon didn't.
Yes.
Leon left.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, I saw the email.
I didn't see.
Yeah, so that's another update. Again, we have new members, we have people that aren't returning. So I think I mentioned this at the very top of the meeting. Sarah, her term has expired and she's not returning. Leon resigned, so he is also not returning. Jeff's term expired, but he is returning for 2 years. It's already been approved. Suzanne is a new member as well. We have another member who could not attend, Antoine Marshall, but he will start in July. He is an attorney. And then we will also have, I think, two spaces to fill after that.
Okay, yeah, too.
So we'll just go back to that same process there, appointed or they were selected to fill until we're at a solid 16. Oh, and treasurer,
And Trey what?
not returning.
To anything.
No, so she's
I mean, she was.
We're now about equity. She's like, she is resigning. So, yes, so she will not.
I got appointed to the RHDC,
All right, you better say what that is.
so the Raleigh District Commission.
I heard
And I can't do.
one recommendation
Yes.
with this, that we need to keep up in the future if we haven't already, and based on this kind of thing, that any member that leaves the committee and meets our standards should be given some kind of certificate signed by our chair and maybe staff to illuminate and publicize volunteerism and the leadership that members have on these boards for kind of discussion purposes when they go home. So it lets people know, oh, you volunteered, you did something, it's not necessarily that you need it. So that's a kind of a recommendation, where we let some people leave, if they meet our standards, that they get something. And I don't know if staff sends them anything now,
Yeah, so there's a letter of acknowledgement that's sent by the manager's office. When people's terms finish or when they resign. But we can do additional things.
Well, I'm bringing this to the board. Is that enough for, should a certificate or something be given to them along with that letter that's signed by the chair on the board? But this comes from where?
City
The city.
manager.
Yeah,
City clerk, city manager.
it's more personal to me when I chair it at the board. But again, these things, I got a wall full of stuff. I'm really meant for go different, but recognition is a thing that I'm giving people that volunteer their time and let them know you appreciate them. So that's why I bring this stuff.
I think that's a good point. And I mentioned this to Sarah because I didn't know that she wasn't returning until 3 days ago.
Mm.
But that was the process that goes through the clerk. So staff may have known, I don't know if Cassidy emails y'all as well. But if they don't return, I don't know until they say, hey, I'm gonna be back if their term is up. Someone resigned. Well,
Oh,
but it is a different.
my term is actually, I'm just not.
But I saw this list, you weren't on this list
Really?
of who was coming back and who wasn't. See, so
The term says 2021.
What list is that?
It's just- It doesn't matter. Anyway, we'll take that, Dr.
Yeah.
We can.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You sent this out?
No.
Yeah, see, stuff like this come, I read everything. But it talked about who was coming back and who wasn't.
Wasn't that on the agenda? The city council agenda?
Okay, so that, I don't get that.
Yeah, but
That's-
see, y'all.
So,
What's
maybe you can
I
take
know,
that.
what's your secret? What's your
There's no
sauce?
secret, it's just, I'm on a list to get stuff. I'm on a list to get. Yeah, I went somewhere and got it.
Oh, it's on the agenda item.
City council.
So then maybe we'll take it up on as your chair and vice chair to create a different procedure internally for how we onboard and say goodbye to How we onboard and say goodbye and thank you to. We do.
Yeah,
we do.
and this was the other.
We got 5 minutes.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna run out of time, obviously.
I'm
on our
sorry.
agenda. No, I think that's very valid and something that we should do. I want to go through, I'll be selfish and ask for one more thing, and this is really for the sake of getting something else done that's been on our, to-do list for a while, and I'll pass this around this way, this around this way, I don't know if that's enough for anybody. So one of the things that Outreach did do is have Katie from the Office of Communication come and discuss what our options were for any piece of collateral, whether that's business card, postcard, handout, for us to be able to, is that not enough? To be able to discuss, he's got it, now he's got it. Discuss, who we are. So if you go to the tabling event, if you're just out somewhere and you want something to tell people, here's who I am, what I do, whatever the case may be. So the great thing is, she said that it's an easy process, which has not been something we've heard often. But she did walk through templates that basically, and she basically said, you tell me what to put in here, I can put it in here, make sure it looks good, and then purchase it. And it seemed like a very seamless process. Tom was not able to be here or put anything together, so I took it upon myself to just compile, literally, this is just information. I made up the last paragraph. Maybe I was halfway, maybe I wasn't, but just so we can get an idea of what this might look like, so we can get maybe who's working on it, that's something you can purchase before the end of the year. So we do use up some of our budget and then still have our full $5,000 budget by July. We don't know, but it's an option just to get it out there in the process. So what the thing looks like, smaller than this, it's hot dog size, but it's about that big. If you're not that big, it's half full. First side is just a photo and it says who we are. So generic picture of community engagement. Can you visualize this? Inside flat can have, I think it has a picture and then text. So that text can say, this is the community engagement board. This is our mission statement. This is what we've been developed for. Visual aid. Inside flat, very general. Here's who we are. This is our mission. This is our mission statement. This side can say whatever we want it to. It can be, this is when we meet. This is more detailed. This is something general that we don't have to change year to year necessarily. This side can say, these are all the dates we're meeting this year. Location subject to change. Here's our email address. Here's our website. Here's our personal cell phone numbers. Whatever you want to put on. But the idea of this is if any of this information is desirable to put in that card, we can at least say, hey, Katie, this is what we want formatted on this. Can you make it so? So I wanted to get approval on any of this going on there so that we can move the process forward, so that if nothing else, she could mock it up for us and we could say, yes, we want that. Information looks good. Let's move forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just don't want to leave us with nothing if we have an opportunity to do something now.
I have to, I'm going to make a recommendation and move forward with that, along with consideration of QR.
That's
So-
on here.
Oh, it wasn't, I didn't hear you mention.
So
Okay, and then that'll pick up all the stuff you can't get on the little pad.
I'll go through this real quick. It literally says the mission statement at the top. So again, sorry. Front page is just a photo of who we are. This inside, I have as a recommendation option, our mission statement right here. The responsibilities include, that is what is on our website. So that was kind of part of our establishing duty. So we changed that, we did not, but that's literally what it says on the website. That's part of what we were established to do. That can go anywhere in this region. We talked about having meeting dates so that people know that one, we meet regularly, and two, when those meetings are going to be set. Again, the locations may change, but that's where at the bottom I mentioned the QR codes for social media or website. So you can say, check the website, check social media for the location for each month. And those will be listed once we get them set, if we decide on a regular meeting date. And then I just wrote a little blurb. Again, I'm not a wordsmith, but I wrote something that's not generic information about what the board does and what our intention is. We can keep that, trash it, write something else in the next 3 minutes if you want to, totally up to you. And then again, you want to add a link for the ordinance that established the board. If you want to add our email address, you'd like to add our social media and website with a QR code, you'd like to add a public comment voicemail. Those are all options to also put here, somewhere down here, but this would be everything that goes into this thing.
So having been at that meeting, I think this is an awesome idea. I think one of the things I would do, I would leave out the establishment in this community. Really.
Okay.
And I would make sure that we're using our mission statement, not the mission statement on the site. The words developing and implementing worry me. I think we've done our mission statement. We have nurtured the citywide approach through radical inclusion, trust, transparency, and mutual respect. I don't think development is in the words that necessarily will, and the words we didn't use. So if we could just, echo on mission statement and that first sentence, I would say roll with it.
And I think the QR code is, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I will just say, I know y'all want to spend those last things of dollars y'all got, but
The deadline for the people.
probably not be something you could do now.
This is really
gonna take longer.
It really wasn't, that ship sailed because we talked about this 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So the idea is if we can just get it in the works, that's fine. And if it's something that can be submitted, fine. If not, at least we've got it in the works. We know that we've got money for it one way, one weapon or the other.
That's for
So we can't, so as far as using the budget, but I agree.
Create the template, y'all would have to say, yes, if that wouldn't happen by Monday.
Again, that's fine. If it doesn't happen to pay for it out of this budget, I don't care. I just want us to move forward with it. If she does, if she's like, here's a template, I'll have it by Thursday submitted, give me your money, cool, but I don't want to be the one she's waiting for, either way.
Is there a list of items somewhere that's published where we can spend money on?
Can we wait on the budget?
Oh, yeah, we can.
Any other comments on this? So we're talking about this first sentence, mission of developing, evaluating, implementing. You want to just strike that?
I think we'll just echo what she said, and that, even if we have it in there twice, worded slightly differently the second time. I think our mission statement is so good. I think we spent a lot of time on it, and I think it really speaks to what our group at that time saw ourselves as. We largely stuck to it. I mean, I think we've done a good job. So, if the mission's been there once as the mission, and then there again as reworded as a mission of nurturing a city, just slightly reworded, I think it's fine.
If this is something that
Wait.
you guys,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if this is something that you don't want to change year to year, I don't think you should include it.
What was the meeting?
I think the goal would be to distribute everything and then.
No, it's 205.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said, I think the ideal would be to, print and distribute it to need more before we ran out of, May 14th, 2025. So, yeah, I think the dates don't aren't limiting in that sense.
Well, and I mean, this is really every month on a certain day at a certain time. Because at the bottom, you said locations to be determined and other stuff on the website. So I don't know if we got to list all of those again. And just, you know what I'm saying? A statement like that every monthly, every second Wednesday, such and such a time. And then this statement at the bottom, when you go on the website or whatever, defines all the other details. You know what I mean? I'm just saying you don't have to make a list.
If I'm looking and I either don't have a sample or don't want to look it up, I just want to know when your meeting's month, I can pick this up and see. That's why I wrote them all out, so it's
I
easy
agree.
access.
I don't know that it has to say Wednesday, but I do think having the dates, it's just easier for someone to look at and put it on their calendar instead of having to count each week.
So we can strike the Wednesday and say second Wednesday of every month and then keep the dates.
Yeah. And I agree taking the establishment ordinance. I'm not sure if it has in, but it's great. So
Do these times or no on the list?
There you go.
As long as we're all committed to second that.
We do also.
Yeah, no.
No location.
Yeah, if we have locations and we can book them all at this day,
But the website,
right? I'm looking to you for affirmation that we are in the right direction.
We're in the right direction.
Okay. Any other information that you think we need to have on this very general, who we are, what we do, we're sure?
I wonder, just in the world of that idea of like the levels of protection that people might be having. And I think, remember, we got a little bit of pushback when we had bylaws that established the standing committees. Maybe there's value in adding that these are the three standing committees, not so much to say that this is what they do,
Yeah.
but like we tackle community engagement through a lens that focuses on these three areas to interpret the standing committees to help people understand perhaps some of that process and how you initially outline, we start at the working board committee, shift things down and hopefully get to action themes, like to reinforce that construction.
Where do we want to add that?
you taking out the fact.
Yeah, with that, no, I think it might be added onto the paragraph. I'm just thinking about the real estate we gain by taking out all of the dates.
Oh,
That we get a little bit of space that we can outline as we go through that. So I feel like it's attached to the blurb, so it just makes the blurb a little bit longer
Okay.
possible.
But as a member board, I was coming to inquire about the project, but I agree with removing of the specific dates. Goal one is if it allows more space for some of the supplemental information that kind of shares how we operate, but then also that might increase the font size for people with visibility. And if this is gonna be something that has specific dates, then there's that line item in the budget that we're gonna need to repeat every single year.
And if it changes for whatever reason, they can just check our website for updates.
What I would offer in regards to the budget side of it is that we haven't depleted our budget for the past 2 years. I think there are probably people across the city that would be happy to see something sitting on our budget line as a demonstration of activity. And that's not, it's not me being smart, like I'm not being sarcastic, but I think right now it doesn't feel like a major concern because we're not moving that much out the door anyway. And I also think, going back to a comment that was brought up in the equity sub-policy committee meeting, like I think the concerns that we have about the evergreen nature of them is like, there's a world of these things being handed out, what have you, but do we possibly envision that there's an active outreach campaign that goes with this, that maybe some of these things are slipped into utility bills as they go out to people so that we're actually raising the profile on that level?
And going on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first thing I thought, being a white person, don't want to yet. In the middle of the paragraph where it says, focus on actively amplifying board-meeting needs that have been underinvested in and historically marginalized. Historically, to the forward underinvested, so the historically is underinvested in and marginalized. Just basically would be like, well, I'm underinvested in right now.
So it sounds like is there needs to be a revision by Cheryl. Thank you.
Sorry, my friend's playing early and I have to.
So since we won't have time to do this, then this needs to be revised and then we'll kick it back to the board in July before we can send it to.
Can we get a draft or when you think, that we can look at?
Yeah, that's what-
we can say.
That's what I'm just saying. So it has to be redone before we can get it looked at our next meeting and then after that sent to. Was that? Okay. But I have birthday. The edits that I have are taking out the Wednesday, making some grammatical changes in 2025 and the T and the H of the last date. We're striking the actual dates and putting second Wednesday of every month. we are striking the developing, evaluating, implementing the first sentence of that paragraph. And I think I just changed it to nurturing and kept community engagement efforts for the city of Raleigh to be simple. We're moving historically to before underinvested. We're removing the establishment ordinance, and we're adding the section that describes the state.
And that's, and the QR code is automatic.
Already on there. It's
Okay,
already-
I see it down there under additional info, but I didn't.
Okay, I will make that so, and then bring it back to, yes. And then bring that back to us in July. I'm going to suspend the rest of our, anything else that we have on that agenda, the parameters or what we need at, community events, we can talk about any committees. Everything else, I think we can discuss in committee work. The hope is to use, again, general meetings to discuss bigger topics, drill down to the details and make decisions in committee work and have them finally approved and we can like, so we're not having a huge 3-4 month cycle of discussion. No.
Okay.
So the work plan has to be in the city council by what you said, by November something?
November 19th.
Okay, so can we just start collecting recommendations so that at our next meeting, we can use that as a, you rather just do it? Because that's the part. That's,
One, Nadia, Dale, do you have additional updates aside from the evaluation? Okay. Just making sure so we don't get you off. Yeah. Two, yes and no. What we did last time was establish a work plan subcommittee, which we can still do. However, I did have copies of our current work plan that we can go through really quickly, and I think we're like the next 2 to 3 minutes, because part of that work plan or the intention of what when I talked to Taisha about it was just updating what this work plan looks like, because we have not done what is in that plan aside from the public comment portion. So when you look at the work plan, the first portion of that is community conversation. That is still in progress and is still remains what we're doing. It's just adding that digital piece when we decided about Portico or public. Does everybody have one? Same thing.
that's what it looked like.
Second part was talking about public comment. Third part was being a rapid response for city council. Second part, public comment, we're not being, because we've worked out. The rapid response, we can still be, it's not gonna change anything. If they need something of us, we take it under advisement. If we don't, we don't do anything else. But that first portion is really what we're looking at. So the idea was to look at that first portion, and if there are things that will need to change immediately about the work plan specifically, then we can create that subcommittee to do that. It's something we should have had done for this, but kind of considering where we are, I think that's okay. And then if there are things that feel immediate enough to add to our 1-year work plan, then we can do that then. But my opinion, our biggest thing is figuring out this community conversation tool and the completion of that, and then there's something available to whatever city council needs.
So my understanding of the work plan, the city council, it gives us opportunity to justify anything we change. In other words, if we didn't do something, we revised something for different reasons, all of we communicate why.
Yes.
So, which is important here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we obviously are not gonna have time to do that justice today. So we can either, I think what I would prefer to do is just tackle that as the subcommittee again. And I'd be,
I think we have to reconstitute it because 2 votes are not
Right.
here.
so we can work toward that in July, which is like 2 weeks away, I guess, speaking by the way. And that way, everyone will have time to review whatever the changes are, even though we have the work plan, but also if we have anything that we can really, really pressing, like needs to be a focus issue, we can bring that as we're just constituting that, so. Did that answer your question?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted for clarification for some of the new
Yeah,
individuals here. I've always
I appreciate it. I'm so sorry to leave you with not your full 30 minutes down, not yet, but I'll hand over everything else to y'all.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think we need to. So I'll make it quick. I know a lot of you all were curious about the budget. So as of right now, your community engagement board budget has $3,500 left.
Okay.
When it comes to what you can spend it on, technically for any P card, which is our purchase card, I have it right here. If y'all know what you want to spend it on, it can be used on services or goods that are under $5,000. If it's over $5,000, then we have to go through that procurement process and for an RFP, stuff like that. So you have $3,500. You can spend it on apparel, you can spend it on cooler, I don't know, whatever you want to buy.
So, well, let me.
Another apron, if you want another apron.
Name tag.
I do wonder, like, if we are investing in a piece like this, there's a great opportunity. When I say that maybe there are specific, I don't know, something that we can add to it as what, I don't know. I don't want to say business cards, but like, it feels like there's an opportunity to nest a thing in this if we feel like we need it. So is there anything that we would want to enhance about this that is more interchangeable and perhaps less evergreen?
It would be an addition because that is.
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about that, and in this space, because we're taking other stuff out. There being like blank space on the back for you guys to like add your phone number or contact or name or something. That way it doesn't matter who had it, like, okay, I'm giving this to you, but like, I wrote my information on the back.
Yeah.
That feels
You know,
real
just,
cost efficient because it's not costing us any money.
I'll ask Katie if that's a portion to tackle that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, like if it's
Please,
yours.
we have.
Yeah.
Anything else budget wise?
I'm asking for opinions on.
One thing, and this might be without, but since there's money left, I don't know if it would come from y'all staff or our budget, but to help with outreach when we go out and draw people to the table, I really would like to suggest we get a wheel. You'd like to buy the wheel and we could add what we want to it, if you can get the wheel now. to
So
bring-
what's the wheel? What is
When you
it?
draw people to the table, they play a game, they spin the game, and how much do you know about the city? We can put all this stuff on there, and it's bring people, then you give little trinkets out, giveaway.
Give these.
Yes, or whatever.
Get ready to give y'all my pass.
So I don't know, this, if we can get this now, so when y'all go out and we go out, because I go out with them. We go out, this is a way to draw people to the table. So I'm just throwing this out now, if we got money left, and you could just buy the wheel, and we can set the wheel up like we decide. And outreach can look at this. Yes.
It's a bottle of verses, but they're straight short.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna just, people would come and take your bottle of.
Yeah, they was.
Curious, like if in your experience being out among community, have any community members expressed needs? Like if you're out meeting with folks and like, hey, we really need those little towels that you get wet and they keep cool. I'm thinking about for just if people are come out, not fans, but something more reusable, but something that the community needs that we can give out our community and, you know.
Is there something that you think that y'all have available, like, that would be easy to order in that sense?
I mean, we have this, it's called Springboard, right?
Yeah.
We have this website that has all of, like Raleigh, City of Raleigh merchandise, so we can have our logo, community, Raleigh community logo on it, and we would order it. So it's a lot of different stuff on it.
Can we, perhaps in thinking ahead in light of the potential, because I feel like we are actually at the point where we're really gonna have this intentional systematic effort going out into the community. Can we perhaps offer a motion to grant permission to the staff to purchase these giveaways, things that are reasonable swag. And then I would also say maybe generic name tags that we might use. I'm also a fan of a polo or some sort of fashion thing that unifies me. I would like to pay for people to know. But something that's, the name tags being generic to identify us as a board member in that way, in that, that's, you know, again, stays evergreen. It is a thing that can be recycled, but thinking about that money and like, if we could get that amount of swag, that should set us up for about 18 months in terms of being out in the community.
So we're looking at wheel.
In wheel, I got name tags, I got more swag. Specifically bottle opener in there, and potentially polos. Is that what you, or do you want polo or do you want a t-shirt?
I love a pole.
I like to refer to,
So
we
do you
get
want us
young
to take
people
this
with
money
those.
to put our?
So, if I'm gonna pass around a big piece of paper, you guys can give me your shirt
Here,
size.
order
Why
that.
don't you do this and we didn't have any business?
Oh, okay. We have the board sided sheet.
Yeah, it's right
We
here.
can just add our sizes.
Add your size on there, and we'll try to get it ordered by Monday.
Are there hot items?
Hold on, let's hold on this so she can get through her updates.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so we are having a boards and commissions summer fest. Not sure if you all have heard, I will, or me or Dale will forward you the invite. But it is July 18th at 4:30 to 6:30 at Dorothea Dix Park Chapel. We will have food available, drinks, there's gonna be some dessert there, and live music. And it will just be an opportunity for everyone to meet all the other boards and commission members, and network and just celebrate all you all have accomplished. And thank you all for your volunteer time and dedication and passion. And so, yeah, that will be on the 18th, which is a Thursday, at Dorothea Dix Park Chapel. We also have a campaign going on right now called Vote Local. That happens every election year. Pretty much we are partnering with a lot of different nonprofits to educate people about their options. So we have a newsletter article, or a news article on our website, but when we are doing, we're also doing an engagement band summer tour, which is the flyers you have on in front of you. We're talking to people on how important it is for them to get involved in local elections, and use their voice. So, so accompany that Vote Local. We're also doing, I think it's 18 events throughout the summer. And we're popping up all throughout Raleigh in every single district. You know, we're going to Moore Square, we're going to Chavis, we're going to all these different areas to let people know that we exist as an office. When we talk to people, you know, we're also sharing about you all, the community engagement board, and encouraging folks to apply to be part of the engagement board. And so that's going to be happening. If you want to join us, or if you're curious about what we're talking about, or if, you know, there are things you want us to make sure we tell people when they come up to our table, let me know. And then the last thing I mentioned earlier was the engagement network. So that's starting July 1st. We are opening up applications, and anyone who is part of a group or an organization that wants to sign up to that can go to our website where you sign up. Yes.
So on here where it says CEB is partner organization, are we, some of us supposed to be there with you?
I believe,
But it'll take a motion really quickly.
Yeah.
Let's do what?
I mean, we're 5 minutes.
5 more minutes extension through staff updates. Who's second?
yeah.
Second.
Second.
In favor? Opposition? Okay, 2:05. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so I know that Lance is the one that, Lance is another person in our office, was the one coordinating all this. I'm not sure if he had maybe one or two of you guys involved in selecting, the dates.
I believe you did.
Okay, yeah, so if you haven't heard about it and you want to be part of it, just let us know. And we're happy to have you join us too. I believe CEB is on there because like that's where the idea stemmed
Okay.
from. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's all my updates.
I just want to go back to the budget thing. Can we add some sort of labels that are reasonable enough that we could just print on the labels and we'd all get like a sheet?
Sticky labels?
Yeah, like we would get 5 sheets and then we would just take the label, slap it on there. If it's us individually, I'm just thinking about the fact that some people don't have the prettiest handwriting.
Yeah.
We want people to be able to access information.
Dale, updates.
Just a quick update. So the language access collaborative plan has been approved by the city manager's office. And, it will be presented to council in early fall. I'll give you the date. The language access collaborative plan.
Any other update?
Well, in our adjournment is going, I'll pass these out as well. So last time, I think we did the same, you did it, but I'll give it to you if you want to do it now, if you want to bring it back, you want to scan it and give it. This is a board assessment of your time. Easy, yeah. Don't bring those too hard on your time here. But it's the same assessment we did last year. We'll also take care of things like our conflict of interest forms, in July, once we have those, and kind of more people joining the board, so we don't do it twice. But if you look up the assessment, if you can now, if not, bring it back or scan it to me, whatever it is, we'll collect it on here. It is 2:03, not useful, but, so I'll entertain a motion now, know that this is on the table.
Make a motion that we include our.
Adjourn, what you said, by Trey, second, by Dr. Lake, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? We'll call it so.
Thank you.
Don't forget to write your t-shirt